Chapter 174. Under true data, Chimey was no longer a flowing cloud azure bird but had transformed into a twilight starbird when it had become a fantasy breed. As he looked at the sleeping Chimey, Lin Yuan felt an indescribable pride in his heart. So what if it was a phoenix's nirvana? A phoenix's nirvana was just a phoenix evolving into a phoenix. Chimey had evolved from an abandoned sound bird that had failed to evolve into a songstress bird. It had been reborn and grown into a fantasy breed twilight starbird. After sleeping for a long time, Chimey slowly woke up. Chimey, who had woken up, was still a little weak. It took a long time for it to recover. Chimey, which had recovered, flew intimately to Lin Yuan's ear. It had clearly treated Lin Yuan's ear as its exclusive territory. After playing with Chimey for a while, Lin Yuan took it into the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Lin Yuan began to enhance Chimey in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. This time, Lin Yuan enhanced Chimey at Bronze X/Fantasy I, the same as when he had enhanced the Jasmine Lily at Bronze X/Fantasy I. It took them nearly a month to finish all of them. A month later, Lin Yuan upgraded Chimey from Bronze X/Fantasy I to Silver I/Fantasy I. Lin Yuan could not help but sigh when he sensed Chimey's state after it became a silver fantasy breed. Every time a fantasy breed Fae advanced a grade, it would undergo an earth-shattering change. This was a true sense of a torrent-like transformation in the life history of a species. After Chimey became a fantasy breed and transformed into a twilight starbird, its elemental had changed from the previous sound elemental and gas elemental to the current sound elemental and light elemental. According to normal evolution, Chimey's newly evolved gas elemental would not easily disappear after transforming into a fantasy breed. When Chimey had been at elite, it had become a flowing cloud azure bird because it had comprehended the gas elemental attribute. This had also allowed Chimey to not be limited to the sound elemental and embark on a broader path. However, after Chimey had evolved into a fantasy breed and fused with the Twilight Willpower rune, it had replaced the gas elemental attribute. Logically speaking, it should have been the sound elemental attribute that had been replaced. Lin Yuan did not know that Chimey, which was jumping around on him, was filled with a strong obsession with the sound elemental attribute. When Chimey had first met Lin Yuan, it had been introverted and had low self-esteem. As a sound bird that had failed to evolve into a songstress bird, Chimey didn't even know how to sing a complete song. It was Lin Yuan's company that had swept away the dust on Chimey's life in Meng City and cast a beam of light that was warmer than the Twilight Willpower rune. Lin Yuan had patiently taught Chimey the first song over and over again. He didn't want Chimey to think that it was a sound bird that could be casually thrown away. It was Lin Yuan who let Chimey know the feeling of being doted on. He had also allowed Chimey to evolve step by step until it had become a twilight azure bird. At that time, the simple ballad that Lin Yuan had taught Chimey had witnessed their meeting. Therefore, this song was the obsession in Chimey's heart. It was unwilling to erase it even in its death during its metamorphosis. All of this was Chimey's obsession, as well as a miracle in the history of the sound bird's evolution. Miracles happen every day in life. It was precisely because of the various miracles that the river of life had evolved to such a magnificent scale. Lin Yuan carefully observed Chimey's true data at Silver I/Fantasy I. Fae name, Twilight Starbird, Fae species. Plume Sparrow/Starlight Bird, Fae grade. Silver, 110. Fae type, Sound/Light, Fae quality. Fantasy I abilities Frowny Face Sound Thrust. Fires 3 sharp thorns formed by sound at a designated target. Scattered light. The body emits scattered rays of light that have burning and controlling effects. Sunlight ray. Emits various rays from the sun that will cause negative weakening to the target. Exclusive skill Frowny Face Clear Sky. After a clear bird's chirp, the clouds will disperse, and the sky will clear up. Radiant body. Quickly absorb the sun's power, and a large amount of sun energy will gather in the body to form the radiant body. Due to the change in Chimey's element, chaotic flow, which it had comprehended at elite, had become scattered light. When Chimey flapped its wings, it would emit scattered light rays that had burning and control effects. Compared to chaotic flow, scattered light obviously had increased lethality, but its control ability should be much weaker. As for the sunlight ray that it had comprehended at silver, Lin Yuan was somewhat speechless. Lin Yuan could not help but want to drill into Chimy's little head to see what it was thinking. How did Chimy comprehend all kinds of harmful rays in such a beautiful blazing sun's light to weaken and control the target? There were all kinds of harmful rays in the sun's rays. These harmful rays had radiation-like destructive significance to life, and Chimy controlled these rays to use on the target. These rays might cause dizziness, nausea, armor piercing, and a series of other negative effects. It was considered a kind of all-round weakening. However, one would only know how strong the sunlight rays' weakening was after fighting on the star web. As for the radiant body, which Chimy had comprehended after becoming a fantasy breed twilight bluebird, Lin Yuan had already felt the terrifying energy contained in the radiant body when Chimy had used it earlier. Chimy had enhanced itself with the sun's power, and the glazed flames on its body had caused its body size to increase exponentially. The destructive power that it carried in that instant could simply be called a trump card. However, the time that Chimy had entered the radiant body had been too short, just over 30 seconds. After the 30-second burst, Chimy's spiritual power would be overdrawn, and its physical strength would be exhausted. It would then fall into a coma. Although Chimy's radiant body only had a short burst, it could be considered a trump card of Lin Yuan's. When Chimy had become a silver/fantasy breed, Lin Yuan had let it use the radiant body and found that the time it could persist in the radiant body state had increased from half a minute to nearly 1 minute. This time, Lin Yuan carefully sensed the energy contained in Chimy's radiant body when it entered its state. If this energy burst out in an instant, the impact would be nearly twice as strong as the gold acid corrosion queen bee's all-out attack. Moreover, Chimy did not rely on physical attacks under the radiant body but the pure burning ability of the glazed flames. Among the two exclusive skills that Chimy had comprehended, Clear Sky could be used perfectly with the radiant body. It could ensure that Chimy would be able to absorb the light from the sun or stars under any circumstances. At the same time, Chimy's silver fantasy breed ability, Sun Ray, could help Red Thorn and the acid corrosion queen bee weaken the target. This way, Lin Yuan's current phase could use their abilities to form a set of combat system. If Lin Yuan were to climb the tower on Star Web now, he could use the Jasmine Lily to heal, the Spirit Gather Goldfish to restore spiritual power, and the Blue Flash Purple Butterfly to control. After tool transformation, Genius Mask and Glasses would have the effect of seeing through the target's weakness. Coupled with Red Thorn, the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, and Chimy's main attack, it should not be difficult for Lin Yuan to reach the 100th step and pass the promotion duel. Read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 175. After being in seclusion for close to 2 months, Lin Yuan was truly tired. He carried Genius, who was squatting at the side, and Chimy, who was chirping nonstop. Lin Yuan leaned on the sofa in the lounge and closed his eyes to have a good sleep. It was just like 5 months ago in the Xia region's Face store, when Lin Yuan, Chimy, and Genius were snuggling together and sleeping. Lin Yuan's expression was so peaceful and tranquil. Chimy and Genius were leaning on the youth's body as though they were leaning on the entire world. This youth's not-so-broad shoulders were like a mountain, completely supporting the two little fellows' reliance. Time had changed and people had also changed. However, their original hearts had not changed. Back in the Xia region's Face store, there was the sickly youth, the malnourished 100 Questions beast, and the sound bird that had failed to evolve into a songstress bird and was treated as trash. They had already obtained a new life. This sickly youth had already become the prodigy of the younger generation. The other two little beasts that were despised had also grown up with the youth, becoming the pioneers of the sound bird and 100 Questions beast's evolution. They had evolved on a path that had no precedence. Lin Yuan had barely rested for the past 2 months, and he was truly exhausted. He slept very soundly and couldn't help but snore. Chimy shrunk into Lin Yuan's neck and seemed especially at ease. However, Chimy's slight movements had obviously woken Genius up. Genius let out a sleepy meow and looked at Lin Yuan. It then picked up a towel blanket from the sofa at the side. She carefully covered Lin Yuan's body with the towel and blanket before burrowing into it and sleeping soundly in Lin Yuan's embrace. When Lin Yuan woke up, he was a little surprised when he saw the time. He had actually slept for 2 full days. As soon as he woke up, Lin Yuan immediately felt his stomach protesting. Goo 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 goo. He took out the rations and fruits that he had stored in the leaf-shaped Fey storage box and started eating them. When Lin Yuan got up from the sofa, he was very careful as he was afraid of waking up Genius and Chimey. However, the sweetness of the fruits had woken them up from their dreams. Upon seeing that Genius and Chimey had woken up, he fed Genius a platinum cane loofah and Chimey a platinum celery vine. Chimey and Genius surrounded Lin Yuan and obediently waited for Lin Yuan to feed them. It was a warm scene. Lin Yuan cut the cane loofah into small pieces and tore the celery vine before feeding it to Genius and Chimey. Subsequently, he stored Genius and Chimey in the Spirit Lock spatial zone and walked out of the breeding room in high spirits. At this time, the sunlight outside the window was just right. Even though it was late autumn, the bright sunlight shone through the window into the cultivation room, making it feel warm and cozy. As soon as he walked out of the breeding room, he noticed a person standing at the door. This person was none other than Lu Jie. When Lu Jie saw Lin Yuan, he immediately revealed a simple and honest smile. Lin Yuan did not expect Lu Jie to be waiting for him at the breeding room's entrance. What happens after the insect queen becomes a fantasy breed? Lu Jie's eyes flashed with a dazzling luster as he looked at Lin Yuan and said solemnly, "Very strong." Lin Yuan knew that Lu Jie was not someone who boasted. Since Lu Jie said it was very strong, it must be very strong. It seemed that the exclusive skill that the insect queen had comprehended after becoming a fantasy breed had greatly improved Lu Jie's combat power. There was no complacency on Lu Jie's face, only solemnity. Lu Jie lowered his head and looked at the small shield engraved above the 2-star crest hanging on his chest. This shield would be Lu Jie's most tenacious destiny in life in the future. It was just like what Lu Jie was thinking. Lu Jie believed that the insect queen's evolution into a fantasy breed was just to make the shield that guarded the 2 stars tougher. Being strong was to protect. In the past, Lu Jie protected a part of the world. In the future, Lu Jie would be protecting the youth in front of him. Lin Yuan and Lu Jie walked out of the Royal Capital's Creation Master Association side by side. Lin Yuan suddenly thought of Wen Yu. Before Lin Yuan had come to the Royal Capital's Creation Master Association for seclusion, Wen Yu had taken over the development of the manor's land. Lin Yuan gave Qing Wu's beetle-shaped diamond Fey storage box that contained radiance dollars to Wen Yu. This was because no matter what Wen Yu did to develop this land, she would have to spend money. In the past 2 months, Lin Yuan was really a little worried about Wen Yu. Although Wen Yu had taken over the task at that time, it was really difficult for a teenage girl to manage the entire manor's construction. Lin Yuan thought that since Lu Jie had come out of the breeding room in advance, he should know Wen Yu's current situation. Lin Yuan looked at Lu Jie and asked, "How's the situation on Wen Yu's side?" Lu Jie actually did not spend much time promoting the insect queen into a fantasy breed. Lu Jie, who had come out of the breeding room, knew before entering that Lin Yuan would be in seclusion for more than 2 months. Therefore, after coming out, Lu Jie went straight to the location of the land that Lin Yuan had spent 7.5 million radiance dollars to buy. He was going to help Wen Yu. However, Lu Jie had just gone to help for less than a day when he was driven back by Wen Yu. Under Wen Yu's godly operation, Lu Jie found that no matter what he did, he was more of a hindrance. Now that Lin Yuan asked, Lu Jie could only scratch his head awkwardly and did not know what to say. It was really hard to explain in a few words. When Lin Yuan saw Lu Jie's expression, he knew that something must have happened. However, when Lin Yuan and Lu Jie came to the previous piece of land, Lin Yuan's expression also became the same as Lu Jie's. Lin Yuan's expression had also become the same as Lu Jie's, blank and silly. If others saw Lu Jie and Lin Yuan like this, they would probably send Lu Jie and Lin Yuan to the hospital's psychiatric department for treatment. Lin Yuan felt that the scene in front of him was simply too shocking. Before Lin Yuan had entered seclusion, it had been an open space full of all kinds of old facilities. Now, an elegant manor had been built on this open space. The environment in this manor naturally could not be compared to the Radiant Moon Palace, but it was definitely ranked among the top in the royal capital. Inside, there were 2 rows of exquisitely shaped ponds that were distributed by an artificial lake on both sides of the road. A large manor with only 3 floors but an area of nearly 1,000 square meters rose from the ground. This large manor shape was simple and unadorned, and the design was carved with all kinds of auspicious fays. On the eaves and beams of the large manor, there were also wind chimes carved with beautiful jade. When the autumn wind blew, they gave off faint chimes with a strong poetic and picturesque feeling. The open space in front of the manor had not been decorated yet, but behind this 3-story, 1,000 square meter large manor was planted with a 3,000 meter long bamboo forest. There was a tree-shaded path in the bamboo forest. At the end of the bamboo forest was a pavilion that was greenish-white. The 4 corners of the pavilion were white cranes spreading their wings to fly, and the pavilion was engraved with faint lotus patterns, looking rather elegant. Next to the pavilion was a quiet pool. Behind the pavilion was a clear stream that connected to a valley. There was a feeling of scenery from all directions gathered in one pavilion. What an immortal scenery! Lin Yuan could not help but wonder if he had been in seclusion for 2 months or 2 years. Although he did not know how Wen Yu had done it, he could not help but sigh when he saw the beautiful scenery in the distance. The bamboo path leads to a secluded place, and the jade stream flows through the valley. At that moment, Lu Jie could not help but grin when he heard Lin Yuan's words. He felt that Lin Yuan's heart was simply too big. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 176. He looked at the clear scenery in front of him. The bamboo forest, the valley, and the spring flow matched with the cool autumn wind. It was a manor that could almost be called a bear's roar, dragon's roar, and the chestnut deep in the forest. Lu Jie was stunned by the beauty, but the corners of his mouth could not help but twitch. Lu Jie could not help but recall how Wen Yu had spent a lot of Radiance dollars to invite 3 Spirit Chi professionals with diamond earth-turning giant elephants from the Lifestyle Class Construction Association when he had first arrived. They had used the earth-turning giant elephant's exclusive skill, earth-turning wrath, to crush all the old facilities in this manor, including the underground foundation, into dust. Then, the earth-turning giant elephants would use their ability, earth pressure, to compact the ground that had turned into dust. Under Wen Yu's command, a major project that would normally take a few months was completed in less than half a day. Even though Lu Jie was sequence number 39 of the Radiance 100, this was the first time he had thought that someone would hire diamond earth-turning giant elephants to demolish old facilities. This was something that ordinary people did not even dare to think about. Although these 3 diamond-grade earth-turning mammoths were only at excellent grade, and they might not have the potential to level up again in the future, the earth-turning mammoths were still of excellent grade. However, these 3 diamond earth-turning giant elephants were the Royal Capital's Construction Association's trump cards. But this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was the Radiance dollars that Wen Yu had thrown out with a wave of her hand. Even if the price of the 3 diamond earth-turning giant elephants was slightly lower, he would probably be able to buy another piece of land like this. Lu Jie had always felt that women were very cute creatures. However, after Wen Yu's show, Lu Jie felt that the most terrifying thing in this world was not the dimensional rift. It was a woman who held a lot of money and waved it energetically. At that moment, Lin Yuan and Lu Jie saw Wen Yu holding a long list in her hand as she walked out of this large stronghold. When Wen Yu saw Lin Yuan, she happily trotted over and said, "Young master, you're done with your seclusion. Look at how well I've developed this land." Lu Jie could not help but swallow his saliva. Lin Yuan looked at Wen Yu's expression that looked like she was waiting to be praised, so he first praised her. "This place is really well developed, but how exactly did you develop it?" Lin Yuan was really a little curious. "How exactly did you develop this place?" Lin Yuan was rather curious as to how the manor could be built to this state in just 2 months. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's question, Wen Yu's eyes immediately lit up, and she spoke without stopping. 3 diamond earth-turning mammoths dismantled the old facilities. However, I felt that the compacted soil of the old facilities wasn't fertile enough. So I got another 500,000 kilograms of high-grade energy ores and found 2 diamond earth-turning titan bears to bury these 500,000 kilograms of high-grade energy ores deep in the soil of the manor. Lin Yuan's brows twitched wildly as he swallowed his saliva and asked carefully, "Where did the 3 diamond earth-turning mammoths and the 2 diamond earth-flowing titan bears come from?" When you said with a sweet smile, "The architect Union." When you continued, "After demolishing those old facilities and flattening the land, we'll have to do it. I looked for a Class 4 Spirit Craftsman team from the Spirit Craftsman Association for the construction of the courtyard and got them to work day and night. They finally finished the project yesterday afternoon." Among the lifestyle class Spirit Chi occupations, the Spirit Craftsman Association was a large association. For example, the construction union's business included leveling the land and designing the blueprints of houses. The Spirit Craftsman Association was responsible for the construction of the blueprints. A Class 4 Spirit Craftsman, Class 4 Scholar, Class 4 Fey Observer, and Class 4 Spiritual Ingredient Analyst had similar statuses. A Class 4 Spirit Craftsman's status might not be comparable to a Class 4 Creation Master's, but he had a pivotal status in the Radiance Federation. If a Class 4 Spirit Craftsman team worked day and night for 2 months, it would be possible to build such a huge manor. At that moment, when you took out the beetle-shaped diamond face storage box that Lin Yuan had given her, when you handed them to Lin Yuan with both hands. Yesterday afternoon, I found a cleaning team to clean the manor that was just built by the Class 4 Spirit Craftsman team. When Lin Yuan took the beetle-shaped diamond face storage box from Wen Yu's hands, he felt a chill down his spine. After scanning with his spiritual energy, he realized that not a single radiance dollar was missing from the beetle-shaped diamond face storage box. Lin Yuan could not help but look at her with some confusion. Previously, Lin Yuan was still thinking that the mansion was using the earth-toppling giant elephant to demolish the old facilities. He had also used the soil-flowing titan bear to bury 50,000 kilograms of high-grade energy ores in the soil to fertilize the soil. He had also found a Class 4 Spirit Craftsman team to work overnight. How many radiance dollars would this cost? He did not expect that such a huge project would not cost a single radiance dollar in the end. When you saw Lin Yuan's puzzled gaze, she first turned to look at Lu Jie, who was beside Lin Yuan, and then at the retainer crest on Lu Jie's chest. She then said softly, "When Lord Mystic Moon came to look for young master, he knew that young master was in seclusion at the Royal Capital's Creation Master Association. When he saw that I was preparing to demolish these old facilities, he took over the project from me. After some arrangements, he handed me over to be the supervisor." While speaking, Wen Yu stuck out her tongue. Wen Yu saw that the retainer crest on Lu Jie's chest was not engraved with a moon rune, which proved that Lin Yuan did not change Lu Jie's retainer crest after becoming the Moon Empress disciple. Wen Yu did not know if Lu Jie knew Lin Yuan's identity as the Radiant Moon Palace's young lord. Therefore, Wen Yu only said Lord Mystic Moon and did not mention the title. There was only one person in the Radiance Federation who could be called Mystic Moon. If Wen Yu was allowed to build the mansion herself, even if there were enough radiance dollars in the beetle-shaped diamond face storage box that Lin Yuan had given her, she would not be so extravagant. As Lin Yuan's creation master assistant, Wen Yu understood her identity and naturally would not do anything that would harm Lin Yuan in the slightest. However, after Mystic Moon took over the construction of the mansion, Wen Yu was no longer soft-hearted when it came to spending money. In any case, it was not Lin Yuan who would pay in the end, but Mystic Moon. As the Radiant Moon Palace's spirit attendant, Wen Yu had infinite respect for Mystic Moon, the moon envoys of the Radiant Moon Palace. Now that Wen Yu had become Lin Yuan's assistant, she naturally had to make more plans for Lin Yuan. Therefore, Wen Yu did not save any money for Mystic Moon on the construction materials of this mansion. The construction materials used were the best that the Spirit Craftsman Association could provide. In fact, as the Radiant Moon Palace's spirit attendant, Wen Yu's vision was naturally not what others could compare to. Mobilizing these diamond earth-turning giant elephants might be very shocking to Lu Jie, but Wen Yu did not feel anything. There were many rare fays in the Radiant Moon Palace. Just take the 2 unique diamond/legend silver stamen gold luster caches in front of the Radiant Moon Palace. Wen Yu could see them every day, so she had long been used to it. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 177. If when you wanted to save money for Lin Yuan, she didn't have to reveal Lin Yuan's identity as the Radiant Moon Palace's young lord. Just by revealing her identity as a Radiant Moon Palace's spirit attendant, the experts in the royal capital would probably line up to help build the manor. However, as a Radiant Moon Palace's spirit attendant, when you had a pride that came from her soul toward everyone except Lin Yuan. This pride in her soul didn't refer to her domineering attitude, but the extreme arrogance. Such pride made when you not accept help from anyone who wanted to curry favor with the Radiant Moon Palace. Lin Yuan knew that the Lord Mystic that when you mentioned could only be Mystic Moon. Lin Yuan didn't expect Mystic Moon to help build this manor. Lin Yuan took out his cell phone and dialed Mystic Moon's number. In a lotus pond, all kinds of lotus flowers were swallowing and emitting mist. Multicolored light was emitted from the lotus flowers and rose in the inner palace. Furthermore, it reflected the pond of green water. The platinum spirit siphon goldfish's tail splashed water as though it had turned the water into a breeze that blended into the multicolored light. However, all this beauty was disrupted by a silver-robed man who was smiling awkwardly at the side of the lotus pond. The Moon Empress glanced at Mystic Moon and felt that the spirit tea in her mouth wasn't fragrant anymore. The Moon Empress had asked Mystic Moon to fetch a spirit savory pig from the Chef Supreme. The spirit savory pig was a fey unique to the Class 5 Creation Master Chef Supreme. It was just like the Radiant Moon Palace's silver stamen gold luster kasha, but the effect of the spirit savory pig wasn't like the silver stamen gold luster kasha, which could wash out the body's impurities. The spirit savory pig was only a type of ingredient, but one would know what it was like to eat the meat of the spirit savory pig. Because of this, the spirit savory pig's meat was known as the best meat in the world. The Moon Empress originally wanted to ask Lin Yuan to eat the delicacies made from the spirit savory pig, but after asking Mystic Moon to look for Lin Yuan, she found out that he was in seclusion again. The Moon Empress couldn't help but sigh when she found out that Lin Yuan was in seclusion. My disciple is too hardworking. How can there be such a hardworking disciple in this world? This is really showing how useless I am as a master. But just now, when you came to the Radiant Moon Palace to find Lin Yuan, only then did the Moon Empress know that the Mystic Moon had helped Lin Fan build a manor, and this immediately infuriated her. How could my disciple lack money? Even if Qing Wu was poor, he still had a lot of savings. It was enough to build 3 manors. As the master, I didn't even help because I was afraid that my disciple wouldn't agree, but you actually went to the manor and intercepted it. Mystic Moon naturally understood the Moon Empress' thoughts. Mystic Moon might have an awkward and fearful expression, but he was very grateful to Lin Yuan and was very happy for the Moon Empress. In the past 10 years, the Moon Empress' emotional fluctuations had not been as vivid as when she had accepted Lin Yuan as her disciple. When the Moon Empress wanted to accept a disciple, Mystic Moon, as one of the Moon Envoys, naturally wouldn't have any objections. But when it came to Lin Yuan, Mystic Moon was merely aware of the Moon Empress' feelings. However, through their interactions, she had unknowingly acknowledged Lin Yuan from the bottom of her heart. He was the Moon Empress' disciple, the Radiant Moon Palace's Little Highness. Suddenly, Xian Yu laughed out loud. After the Radiant Moon Palace had the young lord, it wasn't just the Moon Empress, but the entire Radiant Moon Palace had become lively. The Moon Empress already felt that the spirit tea in her mouth wasn't fragrant anymore. But after hearing Xian Yu's laughter, she suddenly felt that the spirit tea in her mouth was a little bitter. Before the Moon Empress could speak, Xian Yu's phone rang. Xian Yu took out his phone and silently cursed. Lin Yuan actually called at this moment. Xian Yu sneaked a glance at the Moon Empress, but the Moon Empress let out a snort and ignored him. Xian Yu then picked up the phone. After Lin Yuan dialed the number, he said, "Uncle Mystic? I heard from Wen Yu that you were the one who helped me build the manor." Lin Yuan didn't know how to address Xian Yu. Xian Yu always said that he couldn't address him as Senior Xian. Xian Yu and his master, the Moon Empress, were of the same generation, so Lin Yuan simply addressed him as Uncle Mystic. When Xian Yu heard Lin Yuan address him as Uncle Mystic, The usually calm Xian Yu choked on his own saliva. He coughed. Although he was coughing in a sorry state, Xian Yu's heart surged with warmth. Uncle Mystic? This was the first time someone called him that, and it was strange yet intimate. Your Young Highness, I looked for a master from the Construction Association to design the manor. Are you satisfied? If not, ask Wen Yu to look for a spirit craftsman team to modify the manor. Lin Yuan originally wanted to say something else, but when he heard Xian Yu seriously considering whether he was satisfied with the manor or not, Lin Yuan couldn't say anything that would seem distant. What kind of expert was Xian Yu? How could there be a lack of things to do every day? However, she was putting in so much effort for the construction of his manor. Unknowingly, Lin Yuan felt that the Radiant Moon Palace wasn't just his master, the Moon Empress, that gave him a sense of belonging. Uncle Mystic, this manor's design is very good. Xian Yu's clear laughter came from the phone. It's good that you like it. Wen Yu is rather dependable and has put in a lot of effort as a supervisor. Xian Yu praised Wen Yu. Previously, Xian Yu didn't pay any attention to Wen Yu as a spirit attendant. However, Xian Yu was rather impressed by Wen Yu's capability in the construction of the manor. Lin Yuan's manor wasn't small, and when Xian Yu was constructing the manor, she was thinking if she should recommend 2 more spirit attendants to help Lin Yuan. However, Wen Yu's capability made Xian Yu dispel this idea. After hanging up the phone, Xian Yu looked at the Moon Empress who was drinking tea and looking at him. Xian Yu couldn't help but shrink his neck. At that moment, the Moon Empress' phone rang. The Moon Empress picked up the phone and immediately revealed a smile. After hanging up the phone, Xian Yu heard the Moon Empress asking, "If you have a disciple, what should you give him?" Xian Yu's brows couldn't help but twitch. Wasn't the Moon Empress asking about what to give to Lin Yuan? Xian Yu's brows couldn't help but twitch. Wasn't the Moon Empress asking about what to give to Lin Yuan? Xian Yu didn't dare to give any random ideas for such a matter. If something went wrong and Lin Yuan didn't accept it, wouldn't the Moon Empress send him to the desert to do a mission? Xian Yu quickly replied, "Moon Empress, I don't even have a disciple. How would I know what to give to my disciple?" When the Moon Empress heard Xian Yu's words, the smile on her face became even brighter. "I know you don't have a disciple. Even if you have a disciple, you won't be able to find one as good as this Empress disciple." Lin Yuan hung up the phone and looked at Wen Yu, who was looking at him with anticipation. "Uncle Xian praised you just now, saying that you are very reliable." A bright smile immediately appeared on Wen Yu's face. Wen Yu had always respected Lady Xian Yu, so she was pleasantly surprised to receive Lady Xian Yu's affirmation. Lin Yuan asked as he looked at the list in her hand, "What are you going to do?" Wen Yu waved the list in her hand and said, "Young Master Lin Yuan, the mansion doesn't have any furniture yet, so I would like to customize some." Wen Yu's words reminded him. He had placed plenty of furniture and wood in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. Due to the high concentration of Spirit Qi in the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone, the furniture and wood had already turned jade-like. In fact, before Lin Yuan and Ling Xiao had arrived at the royal capital, the furniture and wood had already undergone a certain jade-textured transformation. In the past few months, he had been enhancing phase and increasing his strength, so he had long forgotten about these jade-textured furniture and wood. He did not know to what extent these furniture and wood had become jade-textured. If not for Wen Yu's reminder, he would not have remembered. Then, Lin Yuan waved his hand and took out some furniture from the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone. When Lin Yuan took out these jade-textured wood, Lu Jie, who was looking at the mansion's scenery, almost bit his tongue. After carefully looking at these jade-textured furniture that Lin Yuan had just taken out, Lu Jie choked and burped. Lu Jie really wanted to sigh with emotion. What kind of master did I follow? 166 Reading Network. Chapter 178. 2 years ago, as the Radiance 100 sequence number 39, Lu Jie was considered quite wealthy. He had accumulated a few million Radiance dollars by participating in competitions and completing missions for a year. However, most of these Radiance dollars were used by Lu Jie to increase the Insect Queen's level or enhance its quality. The resources that Spirit Qi professionals needed to consume to nurture phase were a bottomless pit. The stronger the expert, the more resources they needed to consume. However, Lu Jie felt that his worldview had been overturned when he looked at the furniture that Lin Yuan had taken out with a wave of his hand. Jade-textured furniture had always been a luxury in the Radiance Federation. After the Spirit Qi awakening, jade was divided into two types. One was hard jade formed by ores, and the other was nephrite formed by jade-textured wood. Hard jade formed by ores was expensive in the Radiance Federation and was considered a relatively rare spiritual material. Nephrite was many times more expensive than hard jade. Before the Spirit Qi awakening, there were many hard jade in the underground or veins. After the Spirit Qi awakening, hard jade absorbed the Spirit Qi in the world and had different functions. Nephrite did not exist at all before the Spirit Qi awakening. Nephrite could only form a thin layer of nephrite shell on the surface of wood in an environment with an extremely strong Spirit Qi concentration. It was already very rare for the wood to form a layer of nephrite shell on the outside. The furniture that Lin Yuan had taken out with a wave of his hand was not just the surface of the wood, but it had completely become jade-textured from the inside out. The furniture looked like it had the unique mellow and transparent feeling of nephrite. Under the sunlight, it was as if it could filter the sunlight and disperse it, turning it into a colorful ripple-shaped halo. These colorful ripples reflected on people's bodies, as if they were immersed in a kind of tranquil and gentle feeling. This time, Lin Yuan took out a lot of furniture with a wave of his hand. Lu Jie did not dare to say about these jade-textured furniture in other places, but no one would be willing to auction them in the Star Web's treasure pavilion. Although these jade-textured furniture did not have any special functions, they were luxuries that were crazily sought after in the Radiance Federation. Lu Jie had been lamenting Wen Yu's extravagance before. Now that he saw Lin Yuan casually take out the jade-textured furniture, he understood. Compared to the jade-textured furniture, the money spent on leveling the land and building the manor was nothing. He did not expect that these ordinary furniture would actually become like this after being placed in the Spirit Lock spatial zone for a period of time. Although Lin Yuan was not as surprised as Lu Jie, he still felt a little surprised when he touched the jade-textured furniture. However, Wen Yu was used to it. She didn't think much of it. In her opinion, as the young lord of the Radiant Moon Palace, it was reasonable for him to have these things. Lin Yuan and Lu Jie carried these jade-textured furniture into the mansion. When Lin Yuan took out the jade-textured furniture from the Spirit Lock spatial zone and placed it in the mansion, it immediately made the antique mansion look different. Sunlight streamed in through the window and shone on the jade-textured furniture. These jade-textured furniture created ripples of light and shadow, as if one was immersed in water. At night, as long as a single lamp was lit in the house, it would not be able to be used. The jade-textured furniture would scatter the lamp's halo, and the mansion would immediately have a feeling of burning the lamp to prolong the day. Lin Yuan looked at the mansion, and a sunny smile appeared on his face, revealing his small white teeth. It was full of youthful vigor. This would be his home in the future. When Chu Ci came to the royal capital, she would not have to live on campus and could return to his home every day. At that moment, Lin Yuan suddenly saw Wen Yu holding the table with her hands as if she was a little dizzy. He hurriedly asked, "Wen Yu, what's wrong with you?" In the past few days, Lin Yuan had been enhancing the acid corrosion Queen Bee and Chimey in the royal capital's Creation Master Association's breeding room and forgetting to eat and sleep. It was the same for Wen Yu. During these 2 months, Wen Yu had been supervising the work. Even if the Class 4 Spirit Craftsman team worked overtime to build the manor day and night, they had split into 2 groups. One group during the day and the other at night. Each group would be busy for 12 hours and still have half a day to rest. However, Wen Yu was different. In order to better supervise the work, she almost did not sleep. Unless she was tired, she would lean against the wall and take a nap, forcing herself to hold on until the Class 4 Spirit Craftsman finished building the manor. Even after the manor was built, Wen Yu did not have time to rest properly. Instead, she first found a cleaning team to clean the inside and outside of the manor. Now, Wen Yu really could not hold on anymore. Even if Wen Yu had consumed the drop of silver stamen gold luster cassia nectar that Lin Yuan had given her, her physique was already very healthy. However, in such a situation, she was actually suffering from hypoglycemia. "Young master, I'm just a little dizzy." I'll cook for you and Big Brother Lu in a while, and I'll be fine after resting for a while. Lin Yuan said, sit here and rest for a while. Take a seat and rest for a while. We'll order lunch outside. Lu Jie said, sit here and rest for a while. I'm familiar with the takeaways around here. I'll order now. After saying that, Lu Jie took out his cell phone and prepared to order food. Lin Yuan took an incense burner carved with all kinds of auspicious fays from the shelf at the side. Then he used his spiritual energy to search in the spirit lock spatial zone for a moment and took out a black crystal-like sacred linden. This sacred linden was very small, about 10 centimeters long and 2 fingers thick. This sacred linden was agarwood. However, this ordinary agarwood had been placed in Lin Yuan's spirit lock spatial zone for a long time, and it was completely jade-textured, just like the previous wooden furniture. Lin Yuan used his hand to gently break this jade-textured agarwood that was already like a black crystal. Kacha! A crisp sound rang out, and the agarwood immediately broke. Lin Yuan took out a small section and placed it in this incense burner. Then he summoned Chimey, which quickly understood Lin Yuan's intention and used scattered light on this jade-textured agarwood. A fine ray of light fell on the jade-textured agarwood and directly ignited it. The ignited agarwood emitted a very soothing fragrance. Before Lin Yuan's body had recovered, he was always prone to dizziness, so he prepared a lot of agarwood. Ordinary agarwood was still considered common, and Lin Yuan had stored a lot of it previously. Later on, he had thrown it into the spirit lock spatial zone when he no longer needed it. The burning agarwood's fragrance could calm the mind very well. Over time, Lin Yuan also liked this agarwood's fragrance. Although the agarwood's fragrance was faint, the essence of the fragrance was pure. The agarwood was like a solid stone, if the heart could be like this agarwood. No matter how chaotic the outside world was, what was there to be afraid of? When you saw that Lin Yuan had ignited this jade-textured agarwood for her, she hurriedly said, "Young master, this jade-textured agarwood is precious. Young master, this jade-textured agarwood is precious. I'll go rest for a while." Lin Yuan looked at her and shook his head. "After eating, go and have a good rest. It's been hard on you during this period." Lin Yuan had a lot of jade-textured agarwood in the spirit lock spatial zone. If Lin Yuan had been very short of money in the past, he would definitely sell this jade-textured furniture and agarwood in exchange for resources to improve his and Chu Si's strength. However, Lin Yuan was no longer short of resources. Therefore, whether it was this rare jade-textured furniture or the jade-textured agarwood, they were just decorative daily necessities. When he needed to use it, he would naturally use it. After Lin Yuan summoned Chimey, it immediately chirped and flew from the first floor to the third floor of the mansion. After circling twice, it stood on the shelf proudly and chirped for a while. Then it landed on Lin Yuan's ear and intimately bit the stray hair on his forehead. Lin Yuan looked at Chimey and could not help but smile dotingly. What a little troublemaker. 166 Reading Network. Chapter 179. Lu Jie's heart was beating wildly when Lin Yuan broke the jade-textured agarwood. If someone else had this jade-textured agarwood, they would probably wear this priceless jade-textured agarwood in their hands. They would definitely carefully collect it and pass it down as a family heirloom. However, Lin Yuan actually broke it in his hands and used it just like that. After experiencing the previous few surprises, Lu Jie had unknowingly gotten used to it. Compared to Lin Yuan's casual use of this jade-textured agarwood, Lu Jie was more concerned about the delicate azure blue bird standing on Lin Yuan's ear and acting coquettishly. As a spirit chi professional who comprehended willpower runes, he could clearly distinguish whether a fae was a fantasy breed or not compared to ordinary spirit chi professionals. This was because fantasy breed faes had the smell of willpower runes. To put it bluntly, fantasy breed faes carried the world's will. Therefore, when Lin Yuan summoned Chimey, Lu Jie had already seen that this delicate azure blue bird with cloud patterns and stars on its body was a fantasy breed fae. At that moment, Lu Jie only felt that Lin Yuan was like a cloud of fog that he could never see clearly. When he first met Lin Yuan and became his retainer, Lu Jie only knew that Lin Yuan could heal the insect queen and was a class 2 creation master. However, after coming into contact with Lin Yuan again, Lu Jie's understanding was refreshed everywhere. In particular, this silver/fantasy breed avian fae in front of him. However, Lu Jie did not think so much, as he had long positioned himself as the strongest shield in front of Lin Yuan. The higher Lin Yuan's talent and strength were, the more Lu Jie would be spurred on. It would let Lu Jie know that he needed to work hard to improve his strength. Otherwise, he might not even have the qualifications to become a shield in a moment's time. When you looked through the white smoke rising from the burning agarwood in the incense burner and looked at the youth in front of her, who was playing with the azure blue bird on his ear, there were indescribable feelings in her heart. However, after these 2 months of hard work, when you was not only grateful to this youth in front of her, she had also opened a new life in this youth's choice. What Wen Yu had to do was also to fight for this new life. At the same time, Wen Yu was also very grateful to her, who was born with a heart like a flower and a tree. If it wasn't for that, how could she have been chosen by this cheerful young man? The agarwood in the incense burner burned in spirals, and the smell of the agarwood seemed to freeze time here. The quiet scene reflected the sparkling light reflected by the jade-textured furniture. It was an indescribable tranquility. However, this tranquil mood was disturbed by the food delivery. After eating lunch, Wen Yu went to rest. Lu Jie planned to buy some daily necessities, as well as some spiritual ingredients that were of a higher grade. As Lin Yuan's retainer knight, Lu Jie naturally had to live in this mansion with Lin Yuan. At the end of the day, this mansion was Lu Jie's home. Naturally, he couldn't order takeout for 3 meals a day at home, even though it was a little troublesome to cook for himself. However, the atmosphere of the mortal world could make the home more cozy. There were a lot of rooms in this 1,000 square meter mansion, and Lin Yuan still needed to carefully plan the layout of these rooms. Lin Yuan took out his cell phone and called Chu Ci. Chu Ci had not gone home during the holidays but had gone to participate in the Redbud 100 special training. Chu Ci did not hide her talent, so when she returned to school, her fantasy breed obsidian iron wild bull caused a stir in the school during the combat class. In the end, Ling Xiao appointed Chu Ci as a seeded contestant in the Redbud 100 sequence. Lin Yuan was not worried about Chu Ci going out to train during the holidays, as Cold Moon had already gone to Redbud City. With Cold Moon around, Chu Ci would naturally not be in any danger. The real danger was probably those who had bad ideas about Chu Ci's talent. After hanging up the phone and knowing that Chu Ci was fine, Lin Yuan flipped through his cell phone and suddenly found that Zhang Xiaobai had posted on his moments. There were very few people who had added him as a friend on his mobile phone. They were his master, the Moon Empress, his sister, Chu Ci, Cold Moon, Wen Yu, Lu Jie, and the Extreme Club's Zhang Xiaobai and Xening. Including Lin Yuan, there were only 11 of them. However, Zhang Xiaobai was the only one who would usually post on his moments when he had nothing to do. When Lin Yuan opened his moments, he saw that Zhang Xiaobai had taken a photo with a water cup with bronze wolfberries running in it. There was a line of words below. Zhang Xiaobai, I have no choice but to raise leeches, so I soak wolfberries in a thermos cup. Lin Yuan thought for a moment and replied below. Lin Yuan, wolfberries can't stop leeches, so I have to add Angelica. Lin Yuan was about to put down his cell phone when he did not expect Zhang Xiaobai to reply in seconds. Zhang Xiaobai, Angelica can't stop Xen Ying's hammer, so I soak ginseng and deer antler in hot sauce. Lin Yuan looked at Zhang Xiaobai's reply and raised his eyebrows. At that moment, Tan Ran replied below. Tan Ran, is Brother Xiaobai going to argue with Lin Yuan? Zhang Xiaobai, actually, when I was about to say, ginseng and deer antler are not full, so I have to add kidney and kidney treasure, Lin Yuan had already lost. Lu Pinru, you're just craving roasted kidney. Xening, Zhang Xiaobai, did you pour the wolfberries I made for you into the toilet and didn't flush them? Are you deliberately provoking me? Lin Yuan found that Zhang Xiaobai was quiet after Xen Ying sent this message. Lin Yuan imagined that Zhang Xiaobai should be suffering from Xen Ying's iron fist of justice at this time. Lin Yuan let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had won the argument. After returning to his bedroom, Lin Yuan logged on to Star Web, which he had not seen for a long time. It had to be said that Lin Yuan had been on Star Web a little less during this period. During these 4 months, Lin Yuan had been busy improving his strength. Even when he was delivering the goods to Zhou Jiasen, he had also sent the goods for these 4 months to her in one go. When he logged on Star Web again, Lin Yuan found that there were actually tens of thousands of unread messages in his Star Web store. Among them, nearly 1,000 were merchants who wanted to buy a large number of fays from Lin Yuan's Star Web store. The reason for this was that the fays sold in Lin Yuan's store were all in high demand in the market. For such fays, whenever Lin Yuan put them up, they would be swept clean in a few minutes by the people squatting there. If they did not squat when Lin Yuan put up the new fays, they would not be able to buy any of the fays sold in Lin Yuan's store. Lin Yuan did not pay attention to these large number of requests for purchase. Since the fays sold in his store were in short supply, they would be swept clean every time he put them on the shelves. Lin Yuan naturally would not casually cooperate with others and distribute a large number of fays in his store. This would not help Lin Yuan's store's reputation at all. These thousands of messages were from some customers who wanted to purchase. Lin Yuan found that the remaining tens of thousands of messages were from a group under his store. Lin Yuan was a little puzzled. He did not remember joining any group. Why were there so many group messages? Lin Yuan clicked on it with doubts in his heart. However, when Lin Yuan clicked on it, he understood. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 180. It turned out that this group was actually the fan group of his purchase with no loss store. Every time a buyer completed a transaction on the Star Web store, they would be able to evaluate the store. After the evaluation, they could choose whether to pay a certain price to enter this store's fan group. Generally, no one would enter such a store's fan group. After all, which customer would be willing to pay a certain price to enter this store's fan group after buying something? Apart from some large Class 4 and Class 5 stores overseen by creation masters, only they would have such an honor. In fact, joining such a Star Web store's fan group was essentially to better spend in the Star Web store or communicate with the store owner. Lin Yuan looked at the purchase with no loss store's fan group. At present, there were only 37 people in the purchase with no loss store's fan group. How did these 37 people crazily send tens of thousands of messages? Lin Yuan could not help but be speechless. In recent months, there had not been many new fays in Lin Yuan's store. Every time there were new fays, they would be divided up by a few people waiting in line. Therefore, there were not many real buyers every time Lin Yuan put up new fays. Now, Lin Yuan's purchase with no loss store had a little reputation on Star Web. However, Lin Yuan's small store's reputation was a little playful, and the buyers who knew of this purchase with no loss store joked. This purchase with no loss store was indeed a purchase with no loss store because you couldn't buy anything at all. Almost all the customers who had bought fays from Lin Yuan's store had joined the purchase with no loss store's fan group. In the beginning, the people who entered the group wanted to wait for Lin Yuan in the group. They wanted to see if they could get more goods from Lin Yuan after entering the group. As a result, not only did they not wait for Lin Yuan, the mysterious store owner, but they were also deceived by all kinds of fake news from the other group members. Every time someone shouted that the purchase with no loss store would have new goods, the other group members who wanted to buy the goods would immediately run over. In the end, they found that there was nothing. The most outrageous thing was that at the beginning, a few group members had an idea and set an alarm clock in the middle of the night. It usually took a lot of effort to get up, but when the alarm clock rang, they immediately became spirited. They were in high spirits and shouted in the purchase with no loss store's fan group. The store has new goods. As a result, most of the fans were deceived to wait in Lin Yuan's store. But after an hour, 2 hours, no matter how hard he squatted, he couldn't find it. In the end, he naturally knew that he had been cheated. On the contrary, when it was time for the new items to be released, they were all very cunning. They would only show off to their fans after they had snatched the items. Slowly, the people in Lin Yuan's fan club had also developed a combative friendship. The number of people in Lin Yuan's fan club was growing very slowly. After all, there were only a few that could stand out from the dozens of hungry wolves in Lin Yuan's fan club and snatch a fei to enter the fan club. Lin Yuan realized that there were quite a number of acquaintances in this group chat. Braised Egghead, Zhou Jiasun, the Violent-Tempered Woman, and the Buddha-Tempered Woman were all in this group chat. Furthermore, Sister Xian and Braised Egghead were the most active and had the potential to become the group's vice leaders. Stream in the cloud. Deep Mountain Elder Lin hasn't been on the star web recently. This store manager actually hasn't said a single word to his store's fan club. Violent-Tempered Woman. Perhaps the store manager is rather busy. Stream in the cloud. If Deep Mountain Elder Lin is busy, Big Sister Xian and I will help manage the fan club in the future. We can't let those who join the fan club later have a chance to be cheated. Violent-Tempered Woman. Let them stand at the entrance of the store in the middle of the night as punishment. Immediately after, the Violent-Tempered Woman mentioned the Buddha-Tempered Woman. Buddha-Tempered Woman. Buddha said, "Why did you call me?" Violent-Tempered Woman. Buddha has been crying because of your words every day. Previously, you cheated me to release new items in the middle of the night and made me squat for 3 hours. Just you wait for the next half a year. Buddha-Tempered Woman. Buddha said to repay evil with good. Violent-Tempered Woman. That Buddha didn't say that everything has its consequences. Your retribution is me. Stream in the cloud. Don't you guys think that the Star Web recently reported that these geniuses are too talented? Zhou Jiasun. Redbud City's Redbud Intermediate Spirit Chi Academy produced a Spirit Chi professional with a bronze/fantasy defense type Fae. I have never heard of a bronze/fantasy breed Fae before. Looking at the Star Web's news, this genius young lady has become the benchmark for top geniuses and is called a rare genius in 4,000 years. Stream in the cloud. Do you guys know about Black, who has become very famous recently? The Star Web reported that Black has a silver/fantasy breed healing type Fae that can regrow severed limbs. Violent-Tempered Woman. I don't think I've heard of any fantasy breed healing type Fae in the entire Radiance Federation. Stream in the cloud. Including Black's silver/fantasy breed Fae, there should only be a dozen or so. However, I've never heard of a fantasy breed healing type Fae that can regrow severed limbs. Violent-Tempered Woman. I heard that the King class expert, the Sand King, posted on the Star Web that he hopes Black can help heal his son's severed left leg. He is willing to pay a platinum/flawless Fae. Stream in the cloud. I heard that the Sand King deleted this post. I wonder if he found Black to help heal. Violent-Tempered Woman. I wonder if Black's healing type Fae is as powerful as reported. Zhou Jiasun. Everyone in Millstone Town said so it can't be wrong. Black is also a hero. You guys will know when you read more of Black's posts. Stream in the cloud. I don't dare to read Black's posts. I heard that you have to be especially careful of an administrator called Zuan in Black's posts. If anyone dares to say that Black is bad, if his hand speed isn't as fast as the divine travel Black Swallow, he won't be able to protect his parents. Buddha-Tempered Woman. Is Big Sister Xian Black's fangirl? Violent-Tempered Woman. What kind of fangirl is Big Sister Xian? It's called anti-fangirl. Zhou Jiasun. Rain Lady has no melons. Lin Yuan knew that Chu Si's talent would be immediately valued and she would become a household name. However, he didn't expect that almost everyone would know about her in these 2 months. Similarly, Lin Yuan didn't expect his identity as Black to be so famous now. As for the Sand King that the Braised Egghead and the Violent-Tempered Woman mentioned, Lin Yuan simply couldn't figure it out and didn't know what was going on. In the future, Lin Yuan would use Black's identity to climb the Star Tower. Once he passed the ranking competition and reached the Celestial Stairway, he would naturally be exposed to the Radiance Federation's citizens. This was because every duel after reaching the Celestial Stairway would be recorded by Star Web and stored in the Celestial Stairway video library. Every Star Web user could pay a certain price to watch these recorded duels. Star Web would take a portion of the income from these viewings, and the rest would be distributed to the victor of the duel in the video. Only the victor would be able to obtain the income from these duels. Every expert who climbed the Celestial Stairway on Star Web was equivalent to a celebrity. Right now, the feeling of being discussed behind one's back was truly wonderful. After observing for a while, Lin Yuan quietly went into hiding. After placing a new batch of elite spirit siphon goldfish and bronze usnias in his purchase with no loss store, Lin Yuan headed straight for Zhou Jiasen's store. This time, Lin Yuan was going to buy a lot of goods from Zhou Jiasen's store. Just the large amount of inferior energy ores and low-grade energy ores that he had previously stored had already been used up. Baidu was going to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 181. Originally, Lin Yuan didn't need to buy any more normal spirit siphon goldfish. He had originally planned to wait for the batch of 5 fortune ranches to evolve from normal to elite before he sold them. However, Lin Yuan didn't expect that the 5 fortune ranches that he had nurtured in the Spirit Lock spatial zone would evolve during the few months he had been in seclusion. After breaking through to the elite grade, they had made significant progress. Among them, many of the 5 fortune ranches that had broken through to the elite grade had already reached the standard of elite level 6 or 7. If these 5 fortune ranches were nurtured for a period of time, they would be able to take a half step into bronze. The 5 fortune ranches was a famous species of spirit siphon goldfish that implied auspiciousness, and an elite one could be sold for 60 to 70 radiance dollars. However, if they were promoted to bronze, the price of these elite 5 fortune ranches would instantly increase by over 100 times, reaching a high price of nearly 10,000 radiance dollars. The bronze 5 fortune ranches was actually no different from other bronze spirit siphon goldfish. However, the price was more than 30 times higher. This was because the 5 fortune ranches had 5 colors on its body, and its chubby fish body was charmingly naive, implying 5 fortunes and health. Just because of the auspiciousness and rarity of the 5 fortune ranches, it was enough for the 5 fortune ranches to be sought after. Lin Yuan planned to wait for these 5 fortune ranches to grow to bronze before selling them in his Star Web store. This way, his Star Web store's reputation would instantly soar. The reason why Lin Yuan was now preparing to operate his Star Web store was mainly because he needed to enhance the phase grades to increase the spiritual power in his body. During this period of time, although Lin Yuan could feel the growth of the spiritual power in his body, the increase was extremely slow. It was obvious that Lin Yuan still had a long way to go before he could become a B-rank spirit chi professional. During these 4 months, Lin Yuan had mainly enhanced the quality of his phase. Apart from Red Thorn, he had enhanced the quality of all his phase to legend. In terms of enhancing their grades, apart from the Jasmine Lily and Chimey from bronze/fantasy to silver/fantasy. Apart from the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee to gold, Lin Yuan did not enhance the grades of the other phase. This was the reason why Lin Yuan's spiritual power growth was so slow during this period. Therefore, for the next period of time, Lin Yuan would climb the Star Tower while enhancing a large number of phase to increase the spiritual power in his body. He naturally wanted to sell these phase that he had enhanced in batches on Star Web. Not only did he have to separate his identity as a creation master and a combat class spirit chi professional. At the same time, he had to change his Star Web store. Lin Yuan would also sell the rare phase that he had enhanced. Of Lin Yuan would also purchase. As for those truly rare phase that they had enhanced, they would sell them and provide tailor-made phase. Lin Yuan would sell the truly rare phase that he have. Just by looking at the situation in the purchase with no loss stores fan club, Lin Yuan knew that no matter how many new phase he put up, the number of fans would not increase much. In fact, it would be harder to enter the purchase with no loss stores fan club in the future. If someone wanted to enter the fan club, they would first have to see if they could go to his Star Web store to sell new phase. If they wanted to go to his Star Web store to sell new phase, they would have to see if the hungry wolves in the fan club agreed to it. When he arrived at Zhou Jiasen's store, Lin Yuan realized that it was already twice as big as when he had first arrived. It seemed that Zhou Jiasen's store had been upgraded from Class 3 to Class 4 while he was in seclusion. When Lin Yuan saw Zhou Jiasen in the store, he noticed that she was gnashing her teeth and muttering. Buddha-tempered, this nourishing old auntie. Her heart is simply black. This old auntie has bought everything this time. Damn it. Zhou Jiasen looked up and saw Lin Yuan. Zhou Jiasen immediately revealed a smile and hurriedly walked over. Lin Yuan, I haven't been here for a while. 1 month ago, Zhou Jiasen's store had finally upgraded from Class 3 to Class 4 with the large number of bronze usnias and elite spirit siphon goldfish that Lin Yuan had provided. After the promotion from Class 3 to Class 4, the size of the store had more than doubled. This allowed Zhou Jiasen to make some adjustments to the store, and the phase and spiritual ingredients were more comprehensive. Zhou Jiasen's store had always had a good reputation, and after the promotion to Class 4, the accumulated reputation had exploded. This allowed Zhou Jiasen's store's business to be much better than before. However, Zhou Jiasen knew that the main reason was this youth in front of her. If it wasn't for the large number of bronze usnias and elite spirit siphon goldfish that Zhou Jiasen had provided, even if she worked hard for 10 years, she wouldn't be able to upgrade her store from Class 3 to Class 4. In fact, when Lin Yuan had delivered the goods to her, Zhou Jiasen had realized that the phase that Lin Yuan provided were different from the phase that creation masters sold outside. The phase that Lin Yuan provided might be of the same grade and quality as the phase that other creation masters sold, but they looked much inferior. Take the usnia as an example. Lin Yuan's usnia had thicker stems, fuller leaves, and more juice. It was far better than the other bronze-level usnias that appeared in the market. It was as if there were two people, one strong and the other thin and weak. Zhou Jiasen's previous store didn't have any creation masters, so she knew that a 3-star store was the limit of her capabilities. Only by relying on a creation master would he be able to maintain the status of a Class 4 store after becoming a Class 4 store. This youth in front of him was already a Class 2 creation master at such a young age. It was enough to show that his talent was incredible and that his future was limitless. Moreover, when Zhou Jiasen saw Lin Yuan's store constantly selling new phase, she knew how terrifying the power behind him was. Many veteran Class 4 stores were now thinking of ways to contact the Purchase with No Loss store's owner for cooperation. This was enough to prove Lin Yuan's store's current influence. When Lin Yuan heard Zhou Jiasen's words, he replied with a bright smile. Recently, I have been busy increasing the phase quality, so I haven't had the time to come over. Now that I have the time, I am here to look for Big Sister Xen to replenish my stock. When Zhou Jiasen saw the bright smile on Lin Yuan's face and how he upgraded his store to a Class 4 store, she firmed up her mind. Zhou Jiasen straightened her expression and said seriously, Lin Yuan, what do you think of Big Sister Xen's store? Lin Yuan, what do you think of Big Sister Xen's store? When Lin Yuan heard Zhou Jiasen's sudden question and her serious expression, he took a closer look at the well-organized store that was managed by Zhou Jiasen after her promotion to a Class 4 creation master. Right now, the store was obviously filled with more customers than when Lin Yuan had first arrived. Big Sister Xen has managed this store very well. I think that Big Sister Xen's business has been flourishing recently. In fact, when Zhou Jiasen asked about his store, Lin Yuan already had a vague idea of what she was going to say. Lin Yuan vaguely knew what Zhou Jiasen was going to say next. Baidu was going to read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 182. Zhou Jiasen couldn't help but feel a little conflicted. When Zhou Jiasen had upgraded the store to Class 4, she had made up her mind. However, it was useless even if she made up her mind. Zhou Jiasen couldn't make the decision herself. This was because the decision lay in the opinion of the youth in front of him. Zhou Jiasen didn't say her opinion directly. Instead, she walked to the drawer of the counter and took out a document that she had drafted a long time ago. Lin Yuan, take a look at this. Zhou Jiasen was a swift and decisive person, and she had always been decisive in doing things. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to upgrade the store to Class 3 without a creation master backing her. Previously, this Star Web Class 3 store was only one step away from Class 4. When Zhou Jiasen had the idea, she had drafted this document. However, during this month, Zhou Jiasen would take a look whenever she had the idea. Unknowingly, this document had been modified no less than 3 times when Zhou Jiasen had taken it out to take a look. Every revision made Zhou Jiasen's heart ache, but every time she revised it, Zhou Jiasen was very decisive. Lin Yuan looked at the document that Zhou Jiasen handed over and couldn't help but raise his brows. Lin Yuan sighed silently. It seems like I guessed correctly. However, the content of the document surprised Lin Yuan. Zhou Jiasen's document was actually a cooperation agreement, and the content was actually very simple. It was to maintain the current cooperation model, and Zhou Jiasen's store's profit would be 20%. It would be the remuneration for him to continue supplying goods to Zhou Jiasen's store. At the same time, Zhou Jiasen had also promised to give him 30% of the store's shares as a condition for him to increase the supply. This 30% of the shares, after deducting the 20% of the profits, was used as an additional dividend. If the store were to close down, Lin Yuan would also get 30% of the proceeds from the sale of the store. Of course, there was a precondition, and it was that Lin Yuan couldn't sell the 30% of the store's shares during normal business hours. After Lin Yuan carefully read through the cooperation agreement, he couldn't help but be even more shocked. This cooperation agreement was at least twice as good as the agreement between the chief creation master of those Class 5 stores. Most of the Class 5 stores would give a huge bonus to the creation master behind them, but very few stores would be willing to split the store's shares to the creation master. Lin Yuan had always known that Zhou Jiasen was a trustworthy person who insisted on the quality of spiritual ingredients. But now, he didn't expect Zhou Jiasen to be so bold. Lin Yuan pondered the feasibility of this cooperation agreement. Lin Yuan wasn't pretentious about Zhou Jiasen's generous conditions. After all, Lin Yuan had been supporting the Fei store by himself since he was 8 years old. He had been doing business and was originally a businessman. A large part of the reason why Lin Yuan had supplied Zhou Jiasen with the goods was that she had taken the risk of dying a severely injured Fei to help him keep the goods. Otherwise, Feis like the Cinnabar Sweet Osmanthus and Cinnabar Osmanthus Haworthia would have missed him. In fact, even with Lin Yuan's current wealth, he might still be able to purchase the Cinnabar Sweet Osmanthus, but he could forget about the Cinnabar Osmanthus Haworthia. The Cinnabar Osmanthus Haworthia was on the same level as the Silver Stamen Gold Luster Cassia. The Silver Stamen Gold Luster Cassia could cleanse the body of impurities, while the Cinnabar Osmanthus Haworthia could increase spiritual energy. Although the Cinnabar Osmanthus Haworthia wasn't like the Silver Stamen Gold Luster Cassia nectar, where there were only 2 of them in the world, there wouldn't be many of them either. Previously, Lin Yuan had felt Zhou Jiasen's efforts to rope him in. Therefore, Lin Yuan had been willing to supply Zhou Jiasen's store. Otherwise, if Lin Yuan really wanted to sell Feis, he would just put them up on his purchase with no loss store. No matter how many he put up, they would all be sold in just a few minutes. Lin Yuan's goods were just a drop in the ocean compared to the Radiance Federation's market demand, and the goods were in short supply. However, Lin Yuan had to admit that Zhou Jiasen's cooperation agreement's conditions were something that a businessman like Lin Yuan couldn't reject from a business perspective. Zhou Jiasen's store was now a Class 4 store. Lin Yuan might not be able to sell the shares that Zhou Jiasen promised, but just 30% of the shares was a significant amount of dividends. Furthermore, there was an additional 20% of the profits from providing the goods. After calculating, Lin Yuan just had to increase the quantity of goods for Zhou Jiasen, and he would be able to obtain 41% of Zhou Jiasen's net profit. Such a profit was definitely huge. Furthermore, the goods that Lin Yuan provided weren't free, and Zhou Jiasen still had to purchase them at the price that he had previously given. When Zhou Jiasen saw that Lin Yuan had been looking at the paper agreement, she couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Zhou Jiasen was truly afraid of being rejected by Lin Yuan. However, if Zhou Jiasen were to increase the tier or give Lin Yuan more shares of the store, Zhou Jiasen simply couldn't do it. Zhou Jiasen would give Lin Yuan 41% of the store's net profit, and she still had to spend extra money to purchase more goods. In fact, Zhou Jiasen's earnings weren't even as much as when she had opened the Class 3 store. The Class 4 store was twice the size of the Class 3 store, and Zhou Jiasen would need to hire 2 additional employees. In addition to the maintenance fees for opening a Class 4 store on the Star Web, Zhou Jiasen didn't have much money left. From a businessman's point of view, Zhou Jiasen's method wasn't wise. However, Zhou Jiasen wasn't just a businessman. At the same time, she was a person with dreams. 5 years ago, Zhou Jiasen had single-handedly developed a Class 1 store to the current Class 4 store. Zhou Jiasun knew that if she didn't have a deep collaboration with Lin Yuan, if Lin Yuan suddenly stopped supplying goods to her store one day in the future, then her Class 4 store would instantly lose its most important core selling point. The store's accumulated reputation would also plummet. In fact, during this period of time when Lin Yuan was supplying goods, Zhou Jiasun had experienced a kind of joy that she had never experienced when managing a store. In the past, she had been thinking of ways to make customers spend more money to purchase spiritual ingredients and phase in her store. But now, the customers that came to the store were all saying good things and wanting to purchase Lin Yuan's bronze usnias and elite spirit siphon goldfish. This feeling was simply too great. To Zhou Jiasun, who wholeheartedly devoted herself to the store, this feeling of being begged to sell goods was simply the peak of life and endless enjoyment. If Zhou Jiasun had to use a sentence to describe this feeling, she would probably jump up and shout, "So high! I feel like I have reached the peak of life." The experiences over the past few months had caused Zhou Jiasun's outlook to change. The broadening of her outlook had caused Zhou Jiasun's philosophy of managing the store to not change, but it had given birth to something called ambition. Zhou Jiasun wanted to upgrade the Star Web store to Class 5 while she was still alive. Ever since Zhou Jiasun had this thought, it had become increasingly intense. In the end, it was simply out of control. Baidu was the first to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 183. However, Zhou Jiasun also understood that if she wanted to upgrade the store to level 5, she could only rely on this young man. Just when Zhou Jiasun felt that her heart was about to jump out and her throat was dry from nervousness, Zhou Jiasun saw the young man in front of her raise his head and smile brightly, revealing his white teeth. "Sister Zhou's conditions are very good. I agree with the contents of this cooperation agreement. We can start working together." Lin Yuan's words and bright smile put Zhou Jiasun's heart at ease. At the same time, she felt ecstatic, because Zhou Jiasun knew that after this young man's promise, even if he didn't know if his shop could be promoted to level 5, he would definitely be able to keep it as a level 4 shop. "Lin Yuan, you are now the owner of this store. I will show you the details of the store's profits during this period." Lin Yuan waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. I will only supply Sister Xian's store according to the contract, but I will not participate in the management of the store." Lin Yuan's words calmed Zhou Jiasun's heart. Zhou Jiasun was really afraid that Lin Yuan would make all sorts of changes to the management of the store after taking over. Lin Yuan's reason for refusing was also very simple. First, he did not have time to help Zhou Jiasun manage the shop. Secondly, Zhou Jiasun had done a good job in managing her shop, and he didn't have any complaints. Thirdly, a store was actually the same as a combat class Spirit Chi professional squad. Although everyone could voice their opinions as a member of the team could only have one backbone, one main voice. Especially in battle. Otherwise, the two sounds might have turned one force into two, even though they were both moving forward. However, while these two forces were pulling each other forward, they were also restraining each other. After Lin Yuan used his pen to sign the contract, he turned around and said, "That's right. This contract only needed to be verified in the Star Web's rules before it would officially take effect." Zhou Jiasun's worries were finally resolved today. At that moment, Zhou Jiasun saw Lin Yuan's slender fingers placing the pen and paper documents on the counter. "Sister Xin, since I have become one of the owners of this shop, I have to contribute to this shop. After a period of time, I might not be able to supply bronze usnias anymore. The supply of bronze usnias will be changed to silver usnias." Lin Yuan's words made Zhou Jiasun overjoyed. If Lin Yuan could provide silver usnias, then his store would be able to rely on the silver usnias to become a Class 5 store, and it could be considered a sure thing. Lin Yuan had simply given him a huge surprise. Zhou Jiasun could imagine how crazily the customers in her shop would hope to buy the silver tier usnias in the future. Zhou Jiasun even made a plan in her heart. In the future, only those who spent a certain amount of money in the store would be qualified to buy silver usnias. The phase and spiritual ingredients sold in Zhou Jiasun's store were all excellent basic spiritual ingredients. These basic spiritual ingredients were actually available in most Star Web stores. Zhou Jiasun had never had any main competitiveness. Previously, Zhou Jiasun had only relied on the quality of spiritual materials. But with the silver usnias, Zhou Jiasun could use the silver usnias as the center to drive the sales of the entire store's basic spirit materials. Zhou Jiasun couldn't help but feel that roping in Lin Yuan was the most important and correct decision she had made in the few years she had opened the store. In the past, Zhou Jiasun had always felt that the highest state of being a bootlicker was to be able to bootlick without leaving a trace and without a trace. But now, Zhou Jiasun had changed her original opinion. The highest state of being a bootlicker should be to be able to bootlick without a trace. While bootlickering others, one would also be able to obtain a large group of bootlickers. After notarizing the contract with Zhou Jiasun on the Star Web, Lin Yuan had done so. He had bought plenty of low-grade energy ores and normal spirit siphon goldfish in Zhou Jiasun's store. It was considered a rewarding trip. Lin Yuan might be the owner of this store now, but his business with Zhou Jiasun was business. It was just like how Zhou Jiasun had to spend money to purchase phase. Lin Yuan would also need to spend money to purchase spiritual ingredients and phase in the store. However, if Lin Yuan spent money in Zhou Jiasun's store, he would be able to obtain 42% of the net profit. To Lin Yuan, who was a huge consumer of energy ores, it was enough to save a considerable amount of radiance dollars over time. After selling the goods, Lin Yuan left the Star Web. Lin Yuan's address had been changed from the Fei store in Redbud City's Xia region to the manor in the outskirts of the royal capital. Lin Yuan found that Ostrich Logistics delivery was exceptionally fast this time. It took less than an hour. It seemed that Zhou Jiasun was also in the vicinity of the kingdom in reality. Ostrich Logistics was a very powerful organization in the Radiance Federation. Even if he rode the Platinum Divine Travel Black Swallow, it would still take him 3 to 4 days to travel from the royal capital to Redbud City. However, Ostrich Logistics couriers could deliver within 3 hours no matter where they were. This was because Ostrich Logistics had nurtured a unique spatial type Fae. It was a spatial Fae that could perform long-distance teleportation. This was also the fundamental reason why Ostrich Logistics was able to dominate the logistics industry. Lin Yuan saw Anning carrying over a dozen bronze phase storage boxes. In the few months since Anning had become his exclusive courier, he could feel that she had also slowly become more experienced from the initial immaturity. However, what didn't change was Anning's carelessness and extreme optimism. When Anning saw Lin Yuan, she quickly waved her hand and said, "Don't worry. Mr. Lin, I came quickly this time, right? Since Mr. Lin has changed the address, Anning doesn't have to be so dizzy every time she is teleported." When Anning saw Lin Yuan waving his hand, she seemed to have forgotten that she was carrying these bronze Fey storage boxes. As a result, these bronze Fey storage boxes fell to the ground. Anning was a little embarrassed as she touched her short, purplish-red hair and started to tidy up the scattered bronze Fey storage boxes. Lin Yuan had purchased a lot of low-grade energy ores this time, so he wouldn't be able to store them without these bronze Fey storage boxes. Lin Yuan walked forward and helped Anning tidy them up. After organizing the bronze Fey storage boxes, Anning flicked her hair and revealed 2 small canine teeth as she spoke with a pitiful tone. "Mr. Lin, the new courier, number 3451 Anning, might not be able to deliver for a period of time." When Lin Yuan heard Anning's words, he looked at her and waited for her to continue. Anning blinked her eyes with some reluctance before revealing an extremely optimistic smile. Anning is a member of the Ostrich Guild Club's S Tournament Reserve team. The S Tournament will start in 2 months, so Anning has to return to the team for special training. However, after the S Tournament, number 3451 Anning will still be your exclusive courier. In the past few months, Anning would be the one delivering and receiving the goods for Lin Yuan's store. During these few months, Lin Yuan and Anning had really become rather familiar people. When Lin Yuan found out that Anning had the gold armor-piercing insect and the silver scatter insect in the Xia region, he knew that Anning's identity in the Ostrich Logistics was not simple. He didn't expect Anning to be a newcomer that Ostrich Logistics strongly promoted. She was also a member of the reserve team of the Ostrich Guild Club's S-tournament team. The Ostrich Guild Club was different from the Extreme Guild Club that Zhang Xiaobai and Xen Ying were in. The Extreme Guild Club was only a B-class guild club, but the Ostrich Guild Club was ranked in the top 16 of all the guild clubs in the Radiance Federation. Ning, you have to do your best in the S-tournament. When you come back, you will no longer be Ning, but Senior Ning. Ning has been doing very well during this period of time. Ning rarely received praise, and now that she heard Lin Yuan's praise, she was immediately overjoyed. She revealed her small tiger teeth and looked especially adorable. Then Mr. Lin will wait for Senior Ning to be your exclusive courier after the S-tournament. During the S-tournament, I will use a bullet rain to extinguish the opponent's pain. While speaking, Ning even clenched her small fists as though she was proving to Lin Yuan and encouraging herself. After Ning left, Lin Yuan stored all the bronze phase storage boxes that were filled with low-grade energy ores into the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Now that Lin Yuan had received the low-grade energy ores and normal spirit siphon goldfish, he returned to his room and changed to a new Star Web card before logging onto the Star Web. After logging onto the Star Web, Lin Yuan asked Genius to use its exclusive skill to transform into a mask and put it on his face. After logging onto the Star Web, Lin Yuan asked Genius to use its exclusive skill to transform into a mask and put it on his face. This time, Lin Yuan didn't log onto the Star Web as a purchase with no lost store owner or a Class 2 creation master. Instead, he logged onto the Star Web as the Combat Spirit Chi Professional, Black. Lin Yuan's main objective this time was to climb the tower and reach the Celestial Stairway. During the process of climbing the tower, he would be able to feel his current strength and sharpen his combat tacit understanding with his newly improved comrades. Baidu went to read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 184. Lin Yuan had separated his identity as a creation master and a combat class spirit chi professional in the Guild Alliance. They were placed on 2 Star Web cards. Black's identity as a healing-type spirit chi professional was naturally bound to his previous Star Web tower climbing record and the number of floors he had climbed. When he had climbed the Star Tower previously, he had stopped after fighting with a combat class spirit chi professional who had 3 bronze snake species phase. At that time, his strongest combat power was only bronze Chimey. If it wasn't for that combat class spirit chi professional who had 3 bronze snake species phase and had disclosed his phase information in the phase information, he wouldn't have been able to do so. If Lin Yuan fought, he would not be able to seize the initiative. Then, he instructed Chimey to use tactics and the exclusive skill, Clear Sky, to clinch victory. In fact, the reason why the combat-type spirit chi professional with 3 snake species phase had revealed his phase information was because he had been searching for them. To put it bluntly, it was just to act cool. At that time, Lin Yuan still remembered that the combat class spirit chi professional with 3 bronze snake species phase had climbed to the 37th floor. At that time, Lin Yuan had only been on the 22nd floor, so this would undoubtedly give people a sense of superiority that they wanted to show off. Every 10 floors of the Star Tower was a threshold. Therefore, the combat class spirit chi professional who had climbed to the 37th floor with 3 bronze snake species phase naturally did not think much of Lin Yuan, who had only climbed to the 22nd floor. However, in his opinion, exposing his trump card in front of others was the stupidest choice. Compared to the combat class spirit chi professional who had 3 bronze snake species phase, Lin Xiu's current strength was comparable to that of a combat class spirit chi professional. Now, Lin Yuan's strength had undergone a tremendous transformation. Lin Yuan had never lost when climbing the tower before. Thus, until now, Lin Yuan still had a 100% chance of winning the Star Tower duel. Lin Yuan opened his Star Tower duel character ID card. Name, Black gender, male height, 178 cm weight, 61 kg Star Tower floors. 23 Spirit Chi occupation, healing type professional occupation level, C contracted Fey, Morbius, bronze 10/legend, 1000 questions beast, bronze level 1, legendary, Twilight Starbird, silver 1, fantasy eye, red thorn, bronze 5/epic, acid corrosion queen bee, Gold Level 1. Legendary, record, 23 matches, 23 wins, 0 losses, highest floor 23. Lin Yuan looked at his contracted phase information in the identity card and could not help but nod in satisfaction. Lin Yuan had a great sense of accomplishment because this was the improvement he had obtained through his own efforts in the past 4 months. Things were no longer the same as before. Lin Yuan's identity card only displayed the star web information that must be displayed in the star web duel. In other words, it was the name, battle record, and spirit chi occupation. If Lin Yuan chose to reveal his contracted phase to the public, the Fey with the lowest quality was Red Thorn, but it was already at Bronze/Epic. As for the other Feys that he could upgrade, none of them were lower than Legend. There were even Silver Fantasy Breed Feys. It would probably blind the opponent's eyes and cause a sensation in the Radiance Federation. As for the Silver Eye/Fantasy Eye Jasmine Lily, the Bronze X/Legend Spirit Gather Goldfish, and the Bronze X/Legend Blue Flash Purple Butterfly, Morbius exclusive skill Spirit Lock Spatial Zone, Spirit Lock, Spirit Lock. These Feys belonged to Morbius exclusive skill, Spirit Lock Spatial Zone, Spirit Lock. Therefore, they were only included in Morbius information on the identity card and would not be displayed on Lin Yuan's identity card. After Lin Yuan checked his information, he took a deep breath and chose to be matched with an opponent on the star web. Soon, Lin Yuan was matched with an opponent on the 24th floor of the Star Tower. Lin Yuan looked at the information on the other party's identity card. Name: Wang Shui. Spirit Chi occupation, defense type professional record, 1,557 duels, 790 wins, 767 losses, highest floor 31. Lin Yuan secretly raised his brows. I'm matched with a Liver Emperor. I actually fought 1,557 duels. However, when Lin Yuan and this Wang Shui opponent saw each other, they were both stunned. Both of them were actually wearing imaginary silver masks. However, Lin Yuan's silver mask had a few faint patterns, while this Wang Shui's silver mask was bright and pure silver. After being stunned for a moment, Wang Shui suddenly asked, "Are you also a fan of Lord Black? Are you also Lord Black's fan?" Lin Yuan finally understood where that familiar feeling came from. This black attire and this silver mask really seemed to be the attire he had worn during the battle outside Millstone Town. Lin Yuan did not expect that his black identity would actually be so famous. After returning to the Star Tower to participate in the Star Tower duel after 4 months, he actually encountered a fan of his black identity in his first match. However, Wang Shui's question made Lin Yuan involuntarily ponder for a moment. I'm Black himself, so I should be considered Black's fan. Thus, Lin Yuan nodded. However, Lin Yuan did not expect that the moment he nodded, this Wang Shui would suddenly roar and say, "Why does Lord Black have such an unprofessional fan like you? You're wearing a silver mask, but you're not even wearing black clothes." Lin Yuan could not help but scratch his head. He was wearing Spirit Chi clothes that clashed with dark blue and light blue colors today. Now, because of the color of his clothes, his black identity's fan was doubting him and saying that he was not a qualified fan. Now, because of the color of his clothes, he was being questioned by the fans of his identity as Black. He was not a qualified fan. This feeling was really strange to Lin Yuan. Before Lin Yuan could speak, Wang Shui suddenly let out a surprised exclamation. "What? Your name is Black? A healing-type Spirit Chi professional?" Wang Shui's expression suddenly turned serious and looked at Lin Yuan with approval. "Although you didn't do a very good job with the details of your costume, your hardware is very professional. I admit that you're a professional fan of Black. I'll go easy on you later." After speaking, Wang Shui circulated his spiritual energy and summoned his 2 contracted Feys. The 2 Feys that Wang Shui had summoned were both bronze Feys. One was elite, while the other was normal. The bronze/elite coiled horn goat and the bronze/normal thickwool goat were 2 very basic defense-type Feys. Upon seeing Wang Shui summon his Fey, Lin Yuan also summoned Chimey. When Lin Yuan summoned Chimey, Chimey's eyes widened. Wang Shui, who was on the opposite side, shouted, "Misty, misty, misty grass." Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 185. Black had been Millstone Town's guardian during the Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. It could be said that he had led the people of Millstone Town to resist the insect tide that descended from the Pinnacle Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift by himself during a time of crisis. This was a miracle in itself. It was even more shocking than when Lu Jie, sequence number 39 of the Radiance 100, had fought against the surging dimensional lifeforms for 30 minutes. He had fought for precious time for Cold Frost City, and this feat was even more shocking. Lu Jie was sequence number 39 of the Radiance 100 and was a household name in the Radiance Federation. It was precisely because of this that what Lu Jie had done could only be considered as icing on the cake. It was like a flower bed that was originally filled with all kinds of flowers. Even if you inserted a large number of peonies and made the garden bright and dazzling, it was still a flower bed. In the end, it was still a flower bed, no matter how bright and dazzling it was. However, Black had stood up during the crisis as an ordinary person and was more like a hero that had risen from the ordinary people. Moreover, the silver/fantasy breed healing type Fae that Black had controlled could regrow a severed arm. But just this point alone was shocking to the ears. Even if Lin Yuan had left quietly and did not accept the reward or Star Web interview afterward. However, this gave Black's identity a layer of mystery. Lin Yuan might not have accepted the interview from Ascending Dragon City or Star Web. However, the Spirit Chi professionals who had fought alongside Lin Yuan in Millstone Town did not know Lin Yuan's true appearance and identity. They also had a rough idea of everything else. Just like the phase that Lin Yuan had used, be it Chimey, Blackie, or Redthorn. Lin Yuan's Black's fan club and forum had a detailed explanation of his identity. There were even people who were good at drawing in Millstone Town that day who had drawn the images of the phase that Black had used. All the phase that Lin Yuan had called out, such as Chimey and Blackie, were circulating on Star Web. However, Lin Yuan's fantasy breed Jasmine Lily and Red Thorn that had spread out a sea of flowers to resist the sea of insects were more eye-catching. Therefore, when Lin Yuan had summoned Chimey, Wang Shuai had immediately realized it. There were so many people on Star Web, and it was not strange to have the same name. Similarly, it was also possible for Spirit Chi professionals. Even if healing-type Spirit Chi professionals were rare, there would still be at least one out of hundreds of combat-class Spirit Chi professionals. They were both fans of Black, and they were dressed similarly. It was understandable if they did it on purpose. However, no matter how fervent a fan was, in this world where strength was respected, they wouldn't specially contract a Fae that was very similar to their idol just to chase after their idol. Even if there were die-hard fans who wanted to do so, they would have to see if their affinity with Faes was the same as their idols. During the battle in Millstone Town, he had summoned Chimey to investigate the dimensional rifts situation. Therefore, many people who had fought in Millstone Town knew Chimey's appearance and name. As a fan of Black, Wang Shuai could be considered one of the more fanatical ones. Otherwise, he would not have come to Star Web to climb the Star Tower and specially dressed like Black in the battle at Millstone Town. The azure blue bird that Lin Yuan had summoned was very similar to Black's rumored Fae. It was rumored that Black's flying-type Fae was a blue bird that wasn't the size of a fist and had cloud patterns on its wings. Wang Shuai looked at the azure blue bird Fae that Lin Yuan had summoned and realized that it seemed to be more exquisite and handsome than the rumored Chimey. The cloud patterns on its wings seemed to be flickering with stars, which didn't match the rumors. However, the general color, size, and the cloud patterns on its wings were similar. With so many similarities, especially after seeing Lin Yuan's battle results, Wang Shuai was very excited. Although he had only fought 23 duels, he had a 100% win rate. Wang Shuai's eyes suddenly became fervent, and he was so excited that he was like a 300-pound child. Tell me quickly, is your blue bird called Chimey? When Lin Yuan heard this defense-type Spirit Chi professional immediately call out Chimey's name, he couldn't help but feel a little strange. Before Lin Yuan could speak, Chimey chirped twice and flew around to carefully observe Wang Shuai. Its little head couldn't help but turn. Could this person be a fan of the sparrow-voiced lowly goddess? Although Lin Yuan wasn't sure how Wang Shuai knew Chaime's name, it was obvious that his little fan had recognized him. Lin Yuan nodded helplessly. Chaime had already become a fantasy breed and evolved from a stream cloud azure bird to a twilight starbird. Although Chaime's appearance had changed a lot, it didn't change much overall. However, when Chaime used its exclusive skill, Radiant Body, no one would be able to recognize it. Upon seeing Lin Yuan nod, Wang Shuai immediately jumped 3 feet high. Wang Shuai's sudden jump scared the 2 bronze/elite coiled horned goats and bronze/normal thickwool goats that were ready for battle. They fell to the ground in fear. The bronze/elite quality coiled horn goat and bronze/normal quality thickwool goat were so frightened that they lost all their fighting spirit and started bleeding at their contestants. Wang Shuai didn't care about the 2 contracted fays that were startled by him. Instead, he shouted in pleasant surprise, "I actually saw a living Lord Black." Lin Yuan couldn't help but have a black question mark on his face. "Could it be that you saw a dead one before?" Then, Lin Yuan heard Wang Shuai suddenly say, "Lord Black, people like you should be sold on the star web." Lin Yuan could not keep up with Wang Shuai's thoughts and could not help but ask, "But could it be that these fans were crazy to the point of being twisted? Was this what they meant by destroying what they couldn't get?" Wang Shuai grinned and said foolishly, "Because Lord Black is a treasure." Lin Yuan only had one thought in his mind. What should I do if I'm being flirted with by my fanatical fans? I'm very anxious, waiting online. Lin Yuan did not know what to say and did not reply to Wang Shuai. As a result, this made Wang Shuai worship him even more. Because in Wang Shuai's heart, the Almighty should be cold. At this time, the tower climbing duel continued. The Star Tower's rules forbade both sides from voluntarily admitting defeat. The Star Tower would only determine that one party had lost the ability to fight if one party was dead or severely injured and could no longer fight. This rule of the Star Tower was mainly to nurture the courage and guts of the duelists in the Star Web battles. Death in the Star Tower had no effect on reality. Therefore, they could let loose on the Star Web and hone their combat skills to their heart's content. Under normal circumstances, Lin Yuan would let Chaime release sound thrust to kill the opponent and advance to the next level. However, Lin Yuan could not bear to kill his fanatical fans with a single blow. Therefore, he let Chaime release scattered light to attack the 2 bronze/elite coiled horn goats and bronze/normal thickwool goats. Under Chaime's control, scattered light could burn the bronze/elite coiled horn goats and bronze/normal thickwool goats into serious injuries. Then, the Star Tower would determine his victory. However, he hadn't expected that after Chaime released the disorderly light, a silver-masked figure would pounce on the disorderly light. Just as the scattered light ignited Wang Shuai's black clothes, Wang Shuai lifted his hand and took off his mask before saying seriously, "Lord Black, I'm Wang Shuai. You're my hero, and I want to walk the same path as you in the future." In the end, Wang Shuai yelled, "Lord Black, I'm Wang Shuai. You're my hero, and I want to walk the same path as you in the future. I'm too lucky to die in Lord Black's hands on the Star Tower." Lord Black blasted me into fireworks. Before Wang Shuai could finish yelling, Chaime's scattered light engulfed Wang Shuai. Wang Shuai vanished under the burning of the scattered light, and even his ashes were smelted clean. After Wang Shuai was burned into nothingness, Lin Yuan won the Star Tower climb battle. In fact, Wang Shuai's words after taking off his mask had touched Lin Yuan's heart. Lin Yuan had been firm in his heart along the way to walk the path he wanted to take. However, Lin Yuan did not expect that the path he insisted on could affect others invisibly. Water was shaped by objects, and people were determined by their hearts. In Lin Yuan's opinion, people had to have a passionate heart when they were alive. Otherwise, they would be no different from a walking corpse. Radiance emitted light spots from hearts filled with passionate hearts. Faint radiance light spots constantly danced and ignited other hearts filled with passionate hearts. These countless light spots emitted from hearts filled with passionate hearts fused together to form beliefs. Finally, the power contained in these beliefs was enough to light up the dome and bring down a miraculous radiance. At that moment, Lin Yuan's battle record was 24 duels, 24 wins, 0 losses. Highest floor, 24. After the battle, Lin Yuan could not help but ridicule in his heart. How was this blasted into fireworks? Shouldn't he be burned to ashes? Moreover, he had fought 1,557 duels at such a young age. Oh no, after losing this duel, it should be 1,558 duels. How did Wang Shui fight so many duels? Could Wang Shui be an internet addict? Youngsters nowadays still had to protect their livers. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 186. Lin Yuan matched all the way on Star Web without stopping. He only stopped when the total number of matches reached 50. In the matches before the 50th floor, Chimey would only let out a clear cry and use sound thrust to easily end the battle. After dozens of matches, Lin Yuan realized that most of the bronze phase he was matched with were normal and elite. Lin Yuan had not encountered a single bronze/flawless phase in the first 50 floors. He had only encountered 8 silver phase in the first 50 floors. 5 of them were normal, and 3 of them were elite. Lin Yuan felt that his concept of the Radiance Federation's Spirit Chi Professionals' phase quality had changed a little compared to before. As Lin Yuan enhanced and upgraded bronze and silver phase quality, it was rather easy for him. Therefore, Lin Yuan had unknowingly treated it as a very simple matter to upgrade bronze and silver phase quality. In fact, most of the Class 2 Creation Masters in the Radiance Federation could upgrade bronze phase quality to elite. However, it was very difficult to upgrade bronze phase quality to flawless. As for upgrading bronze phase quality from flawless to epic, it would require at least a Class 4 Creation Master. For ordinary Creation Masters, the higher the grade of the phase, the easier it would be to upgrade the phase quality. Ordinary Creation Masters would use various spiritual ingredients to concoct spirit liquids with medicinal properties to stimulate the phase potential. The higher the phase grade, the stronger the body's potential, and the easier it would be to stimulate it. However, Lin Yuan's method of enhancing phase was to instill a large amount of pure spirit chi into the phase body to optimize the phase genetic model and enhance the low-grade phase constitution. Therefore, for the Radiance Federation's other Creation Masters, it would be easier to upgrade the phase quality. However, Lin Yuan was the opposite. The lower the phase grade, the easier it would be for him to upgrade it. Due to this reason, Lin Yuan's thoughts had gradually changed. However, after climbing the Star Tower today, Lin Yuan had unknowingly returned his thoughts to the Radiance Federation's normal standard. Based on the combat class Spirit Chi Professionals that he had queued up in the Star Tower, bronze and silver phase of normal and elite quality were the normal equipment for Spirit Chi Professionals. Lin Yuan could not help but feel a little ashamed. Even though he had lived 2 lives, he could not help but make a common mistake. That was to always look at things subjectively with one's own eyes. If one's horizons were too high, it was inevitable that the things they saw would be biased. Lin Yuan could not help but nod in satisfaction as he looked at his 50 duels and 100% win rate. He then logged off the Star Web. However, Lin Yuan didn't know how much of a disturbance he had caused after climbing the Star Tower and engaging in a battle. First of all, Black's fan club and post forum had exploded. After Wang Shui had met Lin Yuan on Star Web, he had downloaded the recording of his duel in the Star Tower. Then he posted it on Tieba and his fan group. Lin Yuan's Black's fan club and forum had a lot of people. However, apart from the people who had really fought alongside Lin Yuan in Millstone Town, these people had become fans. When those who had become Black's fans heard about Black's deeds and the silver fantasy breed Fae that was said to be able to regrow severed limbs, they felt that Black lacked a trace of reality while feeling admiration in their hearts. This was because Black had never shown up. This made these fans feel that they didn't have a backbone. However, it was different now. Black had really appeared on Star Web and even participated in the Star Tower climb. Wang Shui had originally joined Black's official fan club, and the owner of this fan club was the healing-type Spirit Chi professional with the bronze spitting turtle dove, Lu Lang. Lu Lang's Star Web name was Zuan, and many people called him Zuan Maniac. On Tieba and in the fan club, as long as Lu Lang found excessive criticism, he would use violence to curb violence. Wherever he went, as long as there was a keyboard, there would be no traces of people. After Wang Shuai posted the video, Lu Lang immediately recognized that Wang Shuai was fighting against Black. Lu Lang felt that Lin Yuan's aura during the battle in Millstone Town would always be deeply engraved in his mind. Wang Shuai's video made him quite famous in the fan club, so Lu Lang promoted Wang Shuai to the official fan club's administrator. Soon, the news of Black climbing the Star Tower spread from Wang Shuai's mouth through Tieba and the fan club. However, at the same time, there was a sudden change in the Star Tower's streak list. A name that had never appeared on the streak list before appeared at the top of the streak list. The first place on the streak list was Black. He had won 50 matches in a row and was 11 matches ahead of the second place. The streak list was just a small list that didn't receive much attention among the Star Tower's many lists. However, someone had appeared at the top, and his name was very special. It was the young hero who had recently obtained a silver fantasy breed Fae in the Radiance Federation. At first, many people only thought that it was the same name, but after Black's Tieba and the fan club's Lu Lang verified it, Black's identity was immediately confirmed. Of course, there were doubts, but those doubters were concerned about their parents. Therefore, very few people dared to openly doubt Black's Tieba and the fan club. Otherwise, if they doubted it and Madman Zuan punched them, how could their parents survive? Soon, Lin Yuan's Black's battle results were pulled out. A 100% win rate of 50 consecutive victories was astonishing, and the Star Web's matchmaking was absolutely fair. Within a night, Lin Yuan's Black's identity received endless attention, but Lin Yuan, who had logged off the Star Web, didn't know anything. During these few days, apart from climbing the Star Tower, Lin Yuan had spent most of his time enhancing batches of usnias. Lin Yuan had enhanced these usnias, which couldn't even reach normal, to silver in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. He had also enhanced each pot of silver usnias to elite. Every time he enhanced a pot of usnias to silver, Lin Yuan could faintly feel the spirit chi in his body had a slight increase. However, these slight increases weren't obvious enough. Lin Yuan had been climbing the Star Tower every day when he had nothing to do. As of now, Lin Yuan had climbed to the 74th floor of the Star Tower. Lin Yuan didn't know if it was because of his good luck, but he only encountered a gold Fae on the 74th floor. However, when Lin Yuan looked at this gold Fae, he couldn't help but click his tongue. This gold Fae seemed rather powerful. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 187. Lin Yuan had just been matched with an opponent on the 74th floor. He saw his opponent summon 2 tiger species Faes. One was a gold Fae based on its aura, while the other was a silver X Fae that was about to break through to gold. Lin Yuan did not pay much attention to this silver X/elite steel-toothed tiger. However, the purple plasma condensed on the other gold tiger species Fae's surface was full of a destructive aura. Lin Yuan used Morbius True Data to check on this gold tiger species Fae with plasma on its body surface. Fae name: Gold Lightning Tiger, Fae species. Toothed Cat/Tiger, Fae grade. Gold, 4/10. Fae type: Electric, Fae quality. Flawless abilities: Frowny Face Claw attack. Quickly pounce forward and use both claws to cause lacerating damage. Electric Arc Twining. Can condense electric arcs on a certain part of the body for defense or attack. Thunder Tooth Slash. Condenses electric arcs to form thunder teeth and causes high-pressure single-target damage. Electric Roar Magnetic Shock. Condenses a large amount of electric elements in the air through the tiger's roar and changes its own magnetic field to repel a large number of electric arcs in the surroundings, causing electric shock and tremor damage. Exclusive skill: Frowny Face Overloaded Electric Arc. Reaches an overloaded mode by condensing electric arcs. The violent overloaded electric arcs will cause a second explosion when coming into contact with bioelectricity. This gold tiger species Fae made Lin Yuan frown secretly. The abilities comprehended by this gold tiger species Fae were not considered strong. The Thunder Tooth Slash that it comprehended at gold was considered one of the weaker abilities that the gold lightning tiger could comprehend. The Thunder Tooth Slash was just a single target ability without any highlights. However, This Gold Lightning Tiger's exclusive skill was simply too outstanding. The overloaded electric arc gave the mediocre Thunder Tooth a second chance to cause damage. It even doubled the electric roar magnetic shock's damage. Lin Yuan also summoned Chimey and Red Thorn. After Chimey was summoned, it sensed the Silver X/Elite Steel-Toothed Tiger and the Gold 4/Flawless Gold Lightning Tiger opposite Lin Yuan, and a strong battle intent rose. In the past few days, Lin Yuan had been letting Chimey fight in the Star Tower battles. Although there wasn't any suspense in the previous duel, it also allowed Chimey to cultivate a fighting aura. As for Red Thorn, it was his first time summoning it in a Star Web duel. After Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn, it stabbed its thick roots into the ground and extended its sharp vines to protect Lin Yuan's body. The vine that Red Thorn had evolved without any thorns was obediently and lovingly wrapped around Lin Yuan's wrist. After Lin Yuan's opponent summoned his Fae, he muttered something to himself in the air. "Brothers, let me tell you something. I met another guy wearing a silver mask in this battle. In the past 2 months, including this one, he's the 10th person wearing a silver mask that I've killed." Lin Yuan raised his brows. This young man is quite arrogant. Lin Yuan already knew what the person he had been matched with was. This person should be a streamer. Lin Yuan had also encountered a fool who was talking to himself in midair on the 60th floor. At first, Lin Yuan had thought it was a mental patient. However, Lin Yuan found that the fool had been talking about the situation in front of him. He had clearly not fought, but he had already evaluated Chimey, which Lin Yuan had summoned. He was talking about all kinds of theories, just like a great teacher. He was very much like an all-mouthy king who gave pointers. As a result, when they really fought, Chimey used its gold solar rays and scattered light, which was mixed with the scattered light's sound thrust, and sent him to heaven. Later, when Lin Yuan talked about this at the dining table, Lu Jie explained it to him. Only then did Lin Yuan know that the person he had always thought was a mental patient was actually a Star Web streamer. The man in front of Lin Yuan was exactly the same as the fool on the 60th floor. It seemed like he was also a streamer. At that moment, Lin Yuan's opponent was leaning on the Gold 4/Flawless Gold Lightning Tiger, making hearts in midair and blowing kisses. Lin Yuan could not help but feel a chill. The man opposite him was simply too feminine. This kind of femininity was different from the gentleness of a woman. It was a little like a chicken that had fallen into a noodle jar. When Lin Yuan heard Lu Jie mention it, he also knew that it was not easy to be a streamer for a Star Web duel. If one wanted to be a Star Web streamer, one had to first become a streamer. The Star Web duel streamers' review was very strict, unlike those singing and talent streamers who could live stream with a click. After the review, one's battle scene would be recorded from a third-person perspective and broadcasted in one's live streaming room. The audience in the live streaming room could send bullet comments and discuss the duel. However, the streamer in the duel could not see it. Only after the duel was over and they exited the Star Web duel and returned to the live streaming room could they see the bullet comments sent by the audience. Just like the feminine-looking man leaning on the Gold Lightning Tiger. At that moment, the feminine-looking man suddenly stood up, looked at the air, and frequently released electric sparks. He then started to dance and sing a rap. The feminine-looking man had already imagined the bullet comments in his live streaming room to be like, "Handsome, handsome, handsome, and protect the best streamer." As the feminine-looking man thought about it, he smiled even more brilliantly and danced even more vigorously. The rap he sang also began to change from single to double. However, the feminine-looking man did not know that his live streaming room had exploded when Lin Yuan summoned Chimey. When Lin Yuan summoned Red Thorn, the bullet comments in the live streaming room completely blocked the feminine-looking man, who was singing and dancing. Lin Yuan felt that everything in front of him was simply blinding. In fact, when both sides summoned their phase, the duel had already begun. Lin Yuan's previous plan was not to use the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee and only use this Gold 4/Flawless Gold Lightning Tiger to hone Chimey's combat skills. He wanted to see if Chimey could fight the Gold 4/Flawless Gold Lightning Tiger with the strength of a Silver Eye/Fantasy breed with Red Thorn's assistance. But now, Lin Yuan looked at the feminine-looking man who had no fighting spirit and felt that it was obviously not a good opportunity to hone Chaime's combat skills. At that moment, the feminine-looking man had stopped singing and dancing, but he was still rapping. Yo, check it out. I finally fell from the 90th to the 74th floor. It was really not easy. Now, I'll let you experience the journey of crushing noobs at light speed. Lin Yuan really could not listen anymore and said, "Red thorn, spread out the sea of flowers." Lin Yuan could not listen anymore and said, "Red thorn, spread out the sea of flowers." As soon as Lin Yuan's voice fell, Red Thorn's spore cavity shook. Red Thorn actually did not spray out many spores, but these spores still spread out a thin layer on the star web dual field. Then, Red Thorn sprouted these spores into child ramets, and a large number of child ramets grew out, changing the dual environment. The vines in the sea of flowers were sharp, and the rose-shaped flowers on the digestive cavity bloomed abnormally gorgeous. The Gold 4/Flawless Gold Lightning Tiger and the Silver X/Elite Steel Tooth Tiger felt that this sea of flowers that suddenly appeared was very novel. They wantonly trampled on the newly grown Red Thorn's child ramets in the sea of flowers, obviously having fun. Lin Yuan looked at the feminine-looking man, who was still talking nonsense in the air, and the two tiger species phase that had no fighting spirit at all. He could not help but shake his head. As a combat class spirit chi professional, even if he did not go all out, he should still face any duel seriously. However, this feminine man's mind had already been corrupted by something else. Since the other party had no intention to fight, Lin Yuan wanted to end this battle as soon as possible. Then, he would be matched with an opponent to hone Chaime's combat skills. Lin Yuan said softly, "Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, let's end the battle." At this time, the feminine-looking man was still speaking to the sky. The other side is quite considerate. They actually put on a show. Are they praising my beauty in this trashy sea of flowers? At that moment, the comments in the effeminate man's live-streaming room weren't as crazy as when Lin Yuan had summoned Red Thorn. Although there were still a lot of comments, it was less than before. At the very least, he could clearly see the fight between the feminine-looking man. Then, the viewers from the live stream narrowed their eyes. This was because the heads of the two tiger species phase had been pierced by something, causing beautiful blood to blossom. Accompanied by two mournful tiger roars, these two handfuls of blood blossomed in this sea of flowers. This strange and beautiful scene caused the viewers in the effeminate man's live-streaming room to have goosebumps, and they could not help but curse. Baidu read the latest chapter of the Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free as soon as possible. Chapter 188. If the effeminate man saw the bullet comments in his live-streaming room at this moment, he would realize that, the moment the two blood flowers bloomed, the bullet comments suddenly disappeared for a few seconds. Then the screen was instantly covered by the rolling bullet screen, turning it white. These bullet comments could no longer tell what they were. However, if the effeminate man opened the backstage to look at these bullet comments, he would find that although it was his live-streaming room, none of the bullet comments mentioned him. These two blooming flowers of blood only bloomed for an instant. As soon as the warmth in the blood dissipated, it withered among the rose-shaped flowers and thorny vines, disappearing without a trace. The extremely beautiful bright red only existed for a short moment, but these two blood flowers brought the most soul-stirring visual impact to the effeminate man and the audience in his live-streaming room. The two blood flowers that withered in the blink of an eye announced Lin Yuan's victory in climbing the 74th floor of the Star Tower. After his victory, Lin Yuan continued to fight. Up to the 80th floor, the strongest person Lin Yuan had encountered was still the effeminate man who had been flirting and had no fighting spirit on the 74th floor. After that, he encountered a combat class spirit chi professional with a gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Tortoise that could be considered strong. However, the blue flash purple butterfly's silent scale powder restrained the Coldwater Snapping Turtle quite a bit in the battle. The silent scale powder released by the blue flash purple butterfly fell on the gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle, directly isolating its ability to mobilize water elements. Controlling the Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle's ability to use water elemental abilities was equivalent to crippling the Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle's attack methods. This Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle was taking the evolutionary route of spiritual mutation. Its ability attack method was to use water elements to cause damage. If an ordinary Bronze X/Legend Blue Flash Purple Butterfly released Silent Scale Powder, it would never cause such a strong silence effect on the Coldwater Snapping Turtle under normal circumstances. However, the scale powder Lin Yuan used was the Blue Flash Purple Butterfly's scale powder with strong adhesion. This caused the Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle to become very passive. The combat class Spirit Chi professional who was fighting Lin Yuan only had this Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle. Clearly, all the resources were invested in this Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle. Otherwise, if he could have another Fae, he could also let other Faes release some means to help the Coldwater Snapping Turtle remove the Silent Scale Powder. He would not have to passively take a beating like now. Apart from the shell, the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's body was covered with a layer of mucus. It was this layer of mucus that allowed the Silent Scale Powder to adhere firmly to the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's body. Although the Blue Flash Purple Butterfly's level was lower than the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's, in terms of skills and biological characteristics, the Blue Flash Purple Butterfly was a natural counter to the Coldwater Snapping Turtle. He did not use the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee or Red Thorn in this battle. He used Chimey and the Blue Flash Purple Butterfly to end the battle. The scattered light released by Chimey landed on the Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle's body. The burning ability of the strong light caused the wet surface of the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's body to quickly dry and crack. Then, the dry and cracked skin was burned to form a layer of blisters. The blisters burst, and the liquid that flowed out firmly absorbed the Silent Scale Powder. This left the Coldwater Snapping Turtle with no room to resist. At that moment, Chimey released its gold skill, Solar Rays, which brought multiple negative effects to the weakened Coldwater Snapping Turtle. Lin Yuan found that the exclusive skill, Blue Flash Purple Butterfly's Scale Powder Halo, could be used with Chimey Solar Rays. The reflective scale powder could reflect the light of solar rays. At a certain level, the light would produce a strong dazzling effect. The Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle's eyes were temporarily blinded. Finally, Chimey let out a soft cry, and 3 sound thrusts penetrated the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's mouth, which was struggling and roaring in intense pain. The 3 sound thrusts hit the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's upper jaw, which was opening its mouth. Because the 3 sound thrusts hit the same point on the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's upper jaw, one after the other. Even though the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's jaw was hard, a small hole was still blasted through. The tremors that occurred when the high-frequency sound thrusts penetrated the jaw directly destroyed the brain tissue. In this battle, Lin Yuan found that after Chimey became a silver/fantasy breed, its sound thrust's destructive power had become extremely strong. Lin Yuan still remembered that when Chimey was at normal, its sound thrusts could only leave very shallow marks on thin wooden boards. But now, Chimey's sound thrusts were enough to cause fatal damage to Gold Phase. Of course, this kind of damage needed to be attacked on the opponent's weakness, and it had to be in a situation where the opponent was undefended. As a Gold Turtle species Fae, the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's defense was extremely strong. However, this powerful defense was based on the premise that it could control the water elements. The majestic water elements would form a layer of high-speed flowing water on the Coldwater Snapping Turtle's surface. This layer of high-speed flowing water was the Gold 3/Elite Coldwater Snapping Turtle's strongest defensive means. However, after Lin Yuan's Blue Flash Purple Butterfly's Silent Scale Powder had taken the initiative, the Coldwater Snapping Turtle had become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Under the premise that the Spirit Chi professional did not have a second Fae to help the Coldwater Snapping Turtle, the Coldwater Snapping Turtle became a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. After Lin Yuan won the Star Tower's 80th floor, he felt a little tired, so he left Star Web. After he left Star Web, he went to enhance pots of usnias to silver to slowly increase the spiritual power content in his body. Lin Yuan did not know that the scene that the feminine-looking man had seen on the Star Tower's livestream today. In addition, Lin Yuan's battle record as Black was still constantly refreshing the Star Tower's winning streak list. Today, he had broken the winning streak record on the winning streak list again and again, reaching 80 consecutive wins. All of this caused an uproar on Star Web. Many mainstream media outlets on the Star Web had even started to publish articles to report on this matter. In a conference room that was decorated very simply and skillfully, but the layout was quite extraordinary. A capable man was frowning and flipping through a stack of information. At that moment, there was a sudden knock on the door. The capable man put down the information in his hand and said, "Come in." A youth with a bowl cut opened the door and peeked his head out. His head looked inside and flashed in. He pulled out a chair and sat down. He looked inside, then walked in a flash, pulled out a chair, sat down, and said, The capable man who had just flipped through the information could not help but say playfully, "Chief, is our team still lacking a healing-type spirit chi professional?" When the capable man who was flipping through the information heard this, he couldn't help but say playfully, "You're usually the one who doesn't have anything to do. Do you even have a candidate to recommend? The S tournament is about to start. Hurry up and train. I'll make an appointment with a creation master for you tomorrow to improve your fourth phase quality." When the watermelon-haired youth heard this, he immediately shouted with joy, "Long live boss." After the watermelon-haired youth was happy, he coughed with some doubt. "Boss, when the S tournament begins, our Dragon Gate Guild Club is an A-ranked guild club. We don't have to fight in the elimination round. We can just fight in the group stage. Don't we still have 3 months to prepare?" As soon as the young man with the bowl-shaped hair finished speaking, he realized that what he said was wrong. He secretly glanced at the capable man sitting there. He found that the capable man who was sitting there had begun to take out his pen again, drawing crosses on the stack of documents one after another. The watermelon-haired youth stepped forward and said, "Boss, I really found a very powerful healing-type spirit chi professional." After the young man with a bowl-cut hair finished speaking, he found that the man sitting there raised his head and asked, "Who is it? Bring me the documents." The young man with a bowl cut scratched his head. "I didn't prepare any information, but if you want to look at it, it should be available on the Star Web." The capable man sitting there knew that this bowl-cut youth wouldn't prepare the information. Hearing that it was the Star Web, the capable man took out his Star Web card and was about to log into the Star Web. "How many stars on the celestial stairway?" The youth blinked his eyes and said, "It's not the stairway to heaven, it's the 80th floor." When the capable man heard that, he immediately put down the Star Web card in his hand and started to chase him away with a bad mood. "Fong Duo, hurry up and get out for training. You also know that our Dragon Gate Guild Club is an A-ranked guild club. Looking for someone at the 80th floor of the Star Tower? Do you want to fight 4 against 6 in the team competition and send us to the B-ranked guild club position?" Fong Duo felt a little wronged. That healing-type spirit chi professional at the 80th floor is very popular on the Star Web. It's the 80th consecutive. Before Fong Duo could finish speaking, he was chased out by the capable man. "Consecutive what? Hurry up and go to training." Fong Duo felt very wronged after being chased out and mumbled, "I was kind enough to help you, but Long Tao, you actually think that I'm troublesome. Then go look for it yourself." After saying that, Fong Duo hummed a song and walked toward the training room. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 189. Lin Yuan was currently enhancing a plant fei that he had plucked from the wild. This plant fei looked like a weed that didn't have any special characteristics. 3 slender leaves grew straight out. The leaves were slightly thick. Although this weed didn't look special, it seemed to have a different kind of tough temperament. As Lin Yuan kept pouring in spirit chi, this weed that didn't look special at first was constantly changing. After a few hours, the weed's leaves became longer and drooped down, giving off a special texture. A stalk grew out of the leaves and a bunch of white flowers bloomed on it. Once the flowers bloomed, they immediately emitted a quiet fragrance that refreshed the mind. The room also instantly became cool. This lush flower fragrance didn't have a trace of sweetness, but it was a kind of elegant fragrance instead. When one looked at this orchid, one's heart seemed to calm down. The restrained fragrance wasn't ostentatious at all, but it was exceptionally deep, as though there was a kind of integrity in the fragrance. Lin Yuan stopped circulating his spiritual power and looked at this bronze/epic white jade snow orchid in front of him. He couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. The fei that Lin Yuanye had picked had looked like a weed at first, but it was actually an orchid. At first, Lin Yuan only felt that the orchid was considered a rather rare fei, so he had plucked it. However, he didn't expect this orchid to actually evolve into a white jade snow orchid after being nurtured. All the orchids in the world looked the same before they bloomed. Only when the orchid bloomed could one specifically distinguish the orchid's value. Plum, orchid, bamboo, and chrysanthemum had always been the four most elegant plants. Although this white jade snow orchid that Lin Yuan had nurtured was not the best orchid, it was already considered an exquisite product. Others couldn't even ask for it. Lin Yuan stretched his back and was preparing to carefully observe this bronze/epic white jade snow orchid. He heard two soft knocks on the door, and Wen Yu's voice came from outside. "Young master, lunch is ready. It's time to eat." Lin Yuan carried this pot of white jade snow orchid that had just been nurtured and walked out of his room. When Wen Yu saw Lin Yuan come out, she was stunned for a moment. It was said that a gentleman was like an orchid, but when Lin Yuan held this orchid, Wen Yu suddenly had a feeling that an orchid was not as good as a gentleman. Perhaps it was because the young man's temperament was too superior. He actually completely suppressed the temperament of a bunch of orchids. However, when she took a closer look at the pot of orchids in his hands, she was shocked. Wen Yu was also a creation master, so she recognized at a glance that the orchid in Lin Yuan's hand was a white jade snow orchid that had reached epic quality. Of course, this wasn't what shocked Wen Yu the most, as she had seen many orchid feis and epic feis. However, bronze/epic feis were extremely rare. Especially since this bronze/epic fei was an orchid plant-type fei. Just like in the Radiant Moon Palace, the reward for the first-place spirit attendant was only a bronze/epic fei. Wen Yu did not think much about this bronze/epic white jade snow orchid, as she had never thought that Lin Yuan had nurtured it. Instead, he felt that the Moon Empress might have given it to Lin Yuan. As Wen Yu was thinking about this, she suddenly heard Lin Yuan's voice. "Come back to your senses." Wen Yu came back to her senses and realized that Lin Yuan was looking at her. "Young master, today's lunch was prepared by Brother Lu. Let me help you carry this white jade snow orchid." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan handed the white jade snow orchid in his hand to Wen Yu. Brother Lu's cooking talent is definitely maxed out. When Lu Jie had said that he could cook, he had been skeptical. Lin Yuan looked at Lu Jie's honest face and really did not think that Lu Jie looked like someone who could cook. However, after Lu Jie cooked a meal, he conquered their stomachs. Lu Jie's delicacies had turned Lin Yuan and Wen Yu into two foodies, and they waited for Lu Jie to cook for them every day. It was not that they could not cook, but Lu Jie's cooking was just too delicious. Even if he had eaten the Spirit Food Pavilion chef's cooking, it was not as delicious as Lu Jie's. Wen Yu carefully took the white jade snow orchid from Lin Yuan and asked, "Young master, where should I put this white jade snow orchid?" Lin Yuan asked. "Didn't Big Brother Lu say that spiritual ingredients won't be fresh even if they are put in the refrigerator the next day? Put this white jade snow orchid next to the spiritual ingredients in the kitchen, and Big Brother Lu's problem will be solved." Wen Yu was listening carefully, but when she heard Lin Yuan say that he was going to send this bronze/epic white jade snow orchid to the kitchen to keep the ingredients fresh, Wen Yu opened her mouth wide. Her small cherry mouth opened like a hippopotamus's bloody mouth, and one could even stuff a pineapple in it. Fortunately, Wen Yu's hand was steady. Otherwise, this bronze/epic white jade snow orchid would have fallen to the ground. Although the white jade snow orchid was not considered one of the best among orchid feis, it could be considered a high-grade one. The white jade snow orchid was a support-type fei. When placed indoors, due to the white jade snow orchid's attributes, it could lower the indoor temperature and achieve a comfortable but not too cold state. Moreover, the white jade snow orchid's fragrance could promote the growth of plants. The white jade snow orchid was rather useful even for creation masters. If a creation master could form a contract with the white jade snow orchid, it would be able to play a supporting role when nurturing plant-type phase. It was unheard of for such a good thing to be placed in the kitchen and used the fragrance and cooling effects of the white jade snow orchid to preserve the freshness of the spirit ingredients. It was a low-key luxury. Lin Yuan looked at Wen Yu with her mouth wide open and could not help but say, "If you're hungry, I'll go see if there's anything I can do to help Brother Lu. We can eat quickly." After saying that, he walked toward the kitchen. At this moment, Wen Yu could not help but complain in her heart that her young master was really a straight man. Before Lin Yuan could reach the kitchen, Lu Jie had already come out with the dishes. The three of them ordered 4 dishes: Kung Pao chicken, sweet and sour pork tenderloin, sweet and sour fish, and cumin pork slices. These 4 dishes were all meat dishes. Over the past few days, he had figured out what Lin Yuan and Wen Yu liked to eat. Coincidentally, their tastes were similar, and they were all pure carnivores. After Lu Jie placed the dishes on the table, he saw Wen Yu slowly walking out of the kitchen. "Young master, Brother Lu, from now on, the kitchen will be the most fragrant place in the house." Lu Jie didn't understand what was going on and thought that she was praising him. However, Lin Yuan couldn't help but raise his brows. Although the white jade snow orchid's aroma was fragrant, Lin Yuan still preferred the aroma of agarwood. Although the scent of the white jade snow orchid was light, it was still not as serene as the agarwood. The smell of the white jade snow orchid would leave traces on the clothes, but the smell of the agarwood would only refresh the mind and calm the mind. It would only stain one's sleeves. After the meal, Wen Yu and Lin Yuan praised Lu Jie to the skies. Lu Jie's determined and honest face could not help but smile foolishly. Lu Jie thought to himself, "When I was in the same team as Bai Hao and Wang Fan, they ate their own cooking all day. Why didn't they praise me once?" 2 ingrates. Baidu read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 190. Lu Jie's contracted source-type life form, the insect queen, had long recovered from its critical condition and successfully evolved into a fantasy breed. Lu Jie had gone to find Bai Hao and Wang Fan not long ago. Lu Jie's purpose for looking for Bai Hao and Wang Fan was very simple. Lu Jie had been disheartened and had fallen from a prodigy to a mortal world. Naturally, he had not thought of contacting his former friends again. He felt that even if he did, he would only be causing trouble for his friends. At that time, Lu Jie had become a cripple, and the source-type life form, the insect queen, was his only fae and his only reliance. When the insect queen had been crippled, Lu Jie had made up his mind to cut off his past and become an ordinary person. However, everything was fine now. When he thought of how Bai Hao and Wang Fan had been searching for him for 2 years, Lu Jie felt touched and apologetic. Lu Jie felt both touched and apologetic. The last time he had met Bai Hao's words had made him very angry. However, Lu Jie would not take it to heart. Lu Jie knew Bai Hao very well. He had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Because of their mutual understanding, the 3 of them had become members of the Radiance 100 sequence and formed a 3-member team when they went out to do missions. Men's friendship was actually like that, sincere and simple. After eating a meal and drinking a few glasses of wine, Bai Hao and Wang Fan had resolved the knot in their hearts. Instead, they were concerned about Lu Jie's encounter in the past few years and were worried. To Lu Jie, not only had his strength returned, but it had also been strengthened. His former friends had reconciled, and he had the faith of the youth in front of him. People were really in high spirits when encountering happy events. Lu Jie, who had always been in the clouds, did not feel that life was very good. However, after falling into the dust, Lu Jie's perception of life had changed. Now, Lu Jie felt that every moment he spent with people close to him was happiness. However, what made Lu Jie a little dumbfounded was Wang Fan's message in the group. Only then did Lu Jie know that Bai Hao had pooled his money and Wang Fan's money together. He wanted to see if he could heal his insect queen's injuries. However, when he found out that his insect queen's injuries had healed, he didn't know what to do. Bai Hao gave Wang Fan's share of the money and tipped all his money to a star web live streamer called Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. After spending tens of millions of Radiance dollars, Bai Hao, who had been ranked second on the monthly rankings for 2 years, soared. Not only did he snatch back the first place, but he also left the second place far behind. However, what made Bai Hao feel a little stifled was that no matter how hard he tried to suck up to the Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess, he did not receive a single word of thanks from her. At that moment, Bai Hao sent a message in the group chat. Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's little fanboy, Lu Jie, Wang Fan, come out and join me on a mission to earn money. Wang Fan, since when do you want to do quests so much? You usually don't even go when I ask you to do missions. Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's little fanboy, I don't have money to buy gifts for Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. I plan to give 99.9% of all the money I earn from missions to Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess. I only eat 2 steamed buns every day. Wang Fan was confused. Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's little fanboy, are you guys going or not? If you don't want to go, I'll go myself. Lu Jie, no. Wang Fan, no. Sparrow Voice Lowly Goddess's little fanboy, you single dogs will never understand the bliss of idol chasing. An honest man like Lu Jie couldn't help but reveal a pretty boy's puzzled expression. Bai Hao seemed to be saying that he wasn't single. Looking at Bai Hao's attitude, it seemed like he wanted to have an online romance. After putting down the phone, Lu Jie suddenly thought of something and said to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, a few king-class experts in the royal capital have recently jointly organized a private auction. Are you interested? Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before replying. Did these king-class experts reveal what they were auctioning in advance? To Lin Yuan, going to ordinary auctions was purely for the fun. It was not that he could not afford them, but most of them were useless to him. If he wanted to enhance phase from epic to legend, he would need some rare spiritual ingredients. In other situations, Lin Yuan didn't need spiritual ingredients to enhance phase. As for high-quality phase, he just needed to spend some time to enhance whatever he wanted. Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Lu Jie replied, that's right. It is said that source-type life forms will appear in this auction. Lin Yuan could not help but ask, source-type life forms? Lin Yuan didn't expect that someone would actually auction source-type life forms. If it was a source-type life form, Lin Yuan couldn't help but be a little interested. Source-type life forms had all sorts of strange contracts, and they didn't necessarily have to use spiritual energy. Each source-type life form had different abilities, but they wouldn't be too bad if used properly. Therefore, if he could encounter a suitable source-type life form, Lin Yuan wouldn't mind buying it to nurture it. Take the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, for example. The appearance of the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee had greatly enhanced Lin Yuan's combat ability. It could even be said that the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee was currently Lin Yuan's strongest offensive means. Without the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee, given Lin Yuan's current standard, he really wasn't confident that he could win the promotion duel and ascend the celestial stairway. Even Chaime's exclusive skill, Radiant Body, could surpass the Acid Corrosion Queen Bee's strength in an instant. However, Chaime's exclusive skill, Radiant Body, could only burst out for a moment. If it encountered a gold defense-type Fey and was pinned down, Chaime would exhaust its energy. Then Lin Yuan would likely be the one to lose the duel. Therefore, if he encountered a suitable source-type life form, he would definitely think of a way to buy it. Moreover, he did not lack resources to nurture phase or source-type life forms. He didn't have to worry about resource issues like other spirit chi professionals and only focus his resources on one Fey. That king-class expert squad is very famous in the Guild Alliance. It is said that they have destroyed several dimensional rifts. There should be at least one source-type item being auctioned in this auction, but I don't think there will be more than 2. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied, what are the entry requirements for this private auction? When Lu Jie heard that Lin Yuan had the intention to go, he said, you're right. Leave the admission qualifications to me. I'll get 3 admission tickets when the time comes. Lin Yuan nodded. Then I'll have to trouble brother Lu. Wen Yu was also very happy. She rarely had the chance to go down the mountain in the Radiant Moon Palace. Now that there was such excitement, Wen Yu naturally wanted to go. What made Wen Yu rather touched was that she had been addressing Lin Yuan as young master, making it clear that she was a servant. However, Lu Jie had never neglected her. Slowly, Wen Yu began to identify with Lu Jie. After dinner, Wen Yu took on the responsibility of washing the dishes. Lu Jie was just about to freeze some of the spiritual ingredients that he had prepared earlier that were not easy to store. Then, he saw a pot of elegant orchids on the shelf where all kinds of spiritual ingredients were placed. As a member of the Radiance 100 sequence, Lu Jie naturally knew his stuff. After observing for a while, he suddenly exclaimed, "This was actually a bronze/epic white jade snow orchid. What's the use of such a good thing in the kitchen?" Wen Yu said calmly while washing the dishes. "Young master gave you this to keep your spiritual ingredients fresh." Sure enough, Wen Yu also saw Lu Jie. Her mouth was wide open, and a dumbfounded expression appeared on her face. Wen Yu imitated what Lin Yuan had said before. "Brother Lu, are you hungry?" Lu Jie snapped out of his daze. He scratched the back of his head and said, "That's right. Didn't I just finish eating? I ate 3 bowls. How can I be hungry?" Wen Yu couldn't help but complain after hearing Lu Jie's words. Another straight man. Who knew that Lu Jie would say something like that? "Wen Yu, are you still hungry?" Wen Yu lowered her head and asked. "I ate 2 bowls, so of course I'm full." Unexpectedly, as soon as Wen Yu finished speaking, she saw Lu Jie looking at her in surprise. "Wen Yu, aren't you afraid of getting fat after eating 2 bowls of rice?" Wen Yu suddenly felt that Lu Jie was not only a straight man but also a pig trotter. Baidu, read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. Chapter 191. For the past few days, Lin Yuan had been fighting in the Star Tower. He had already fought from the 80th floor to the 100th floor, and if he continued, he would have to fight in the promotion duel. During the Star Tower's climb from the 80th floor to the 100th floor, every opponent that Lin Yuan encountered had a gold fei. Starting from the 90th floor of the Star Tower, Lin Yuan had encountered plenty of spirit chi professionals and even 2 gold feis. However, these gold feis grades weren't considered high. However, with Lin Yuan using the gold/legend acid corrosion Queen Bee, these battles were not considered difficult to win. Chime did not even use the exclusive skill, Radiant Body, that it had obtained after becoming a fantasy breed, in the battle from the 80th to the 100th floor. In the battles from the 80th floor to the 100th floor, the highest gold fei that Lin Yuan had encountered was only a gold 7/flawless fei. Although the acid corrosion Queen Bee was only a gold I/legend fei, it was a legend one. In terms of raw strength, the gold I/legend acid corrosion Queen Bee was stronger than a gold 7/flawless fei. Moreover, the acid corrosion Queen Bee was an assassin hiding in the bushes and carrying out surprise attacks. From the 80th floor to the 100th floor, Lin Yuan also encountered a spirit chi professional who was doing a live broadcast while fighting in the Star Tower. This spirit chi professional was the person who had a gold 7/flawless fei, so Lin Yuan's acid corrosion Queen Bee had appeared in front of the Star Web netizens for the first time. This also solved how Lin Yuan had instantly killed that feminine man's 2 feis. The case of the 2 blooming blood flowers in the bushes was finally solved. Lin Yuan was now a mess on the Star Web. At the same time, there was a question on the Star Web. Wasn't Black a healing-type spirit chi professional? Why had he never used a healing-type fei? Instead, he was a combat-class spirit chi professional in a battle? If not for Red Thorn's appearance, it could perfectly prove Black's identity. Otherwise, even if Black's post forum and fan group owner, Lu Lang, publicly confirmed it, many people would still not believe it. It was precisely because Lin Yuan had never used a healing-type fei and could fly with a combat-class fei that people had to face a problem. It was Lin Yuan's talent. Spirit chi professionals' talents had always been divided into various grades. Most of the spirit chi professionals' talents were to be compatible with a certain type of fei, such as the defense-type beetle species fei. Of course, even if it was just one type of affinity, there was still a difference in strength. For example, a tiger species Fae with an affinity and a sheep species Fae with an affinity and an affinity type Fae with an affinity and an affinity type Fae with an affinity could be easily distinguished. A tiger species Fae's combat strength was indeed much stronger than a sheep species Fae of the same grade. This strength is determined by the ecological niche in nature. In the natural world, the tiger would eat the sheep. Of course, the strength of this ecological niche only existed between people of the same level. However, not all tiger species Faes could defeat sheep species Faes of the same grade. There were also some precious Faes among the goat species Faes. For example, the wind-speed rapid antelope that Lin Yuan had nurtured could fly with the wind element and was extremely fast. Therefore, ordinary tiger species Faes might not necessarily be able to defeat the wind-speed rapid antelope. However, if it was an ordinary family with poorer conditions, they might hope that they could have an affinity with a sheep species Fae rather than a tiger species Fae with an affinity with a power of fence-type Fae. This was because tiger species Faes were really rare. If one was not born in an aristocratic family, one would not be able to afford to obtain a tiger species Fae. Moreover, the spiritual ingredients needed to evolve a tiger species Fae would be even more precious. Chu Si's talent for having an affinity with defense-type Faes could be considered top-notch in the Radiance Federation. As a defense-type spirit chi professional, Chu Si's choice of defense-type Faes was not limited by her talent and was completely free to choose the Faes she wanted. This way, her contracted Faes could form a perfect combat system that was suitable for her. In a duel between combat-class spirit chi professionals, the Faes' individual strength was one aspect. When fighting against a low-grade opponent, they could use grade to crush them to obtain victory. However, when fighting against an opponent with similar strength and Faes grade and quality, the combination of the Faes were often the key to victory. As for Black, the Faes that he used in battle were too complicated, and there was no discernible pattern. This made people on Star Web involuntarily guess Black's talent. However, no matter how they guessed, there was no fixed answer. In fact, many low-rank scholars and Fae observers even analyzed the Faes that Black had used in battle. They wrote their opinions into articles and posted them. However, after they were posted, these low-rank scholars and Fae observers were criticized by the Star Web netizens. Based on the Faes that Black had used in battle, apart from the defense-type Faes that he had never used, it could be considered that he had used all other Faes. In fact, a large part of the reason why Lin Yuan was being speculated like this was because of Chimey. When Lin Yuan had contracted Chimey, it had just been a sound bird that could not even be considered a Fae, so it naturally did not have a different type. Just like the Usnia, it was also a production-type Fae without a different type. After Lin Yuan had evolved Chimey, Chimey had awakened its combat ability. Black's talent had been debated endlessly, and in the end, a Class 4 scholar had even published an article based on Black's talent. A Class 4 scholar was already considered an influential figure in the Radiance Federation's academic world and belonged to the pinnacle of the academic world. Therefore, this Class 4 scholar's article was considered to have put an end to this speculation before Lin Yuan exposed his talent. The publication of this Class 4 scholar's article might have calmed the storm caused by the speculation, but it also let more people feel the terror of Black's talent. Or rather, he was wealthy. As the Class 4 scholar analyzed the Faes that appeared in the live broadcast on Black Star Web, he finally came to a conclusion. Among Black's Faes, they should all be of extremely high quality, and there were even Source-type life forms. At the same time, it also stated that without the existence of Source-type life forms, Black's talent was also at the pinnacle of the Radiance Federation. At the end of the article, the Class 4 scholar was even mischievous with the times. He guessed that all the Faes that Black used were Source-type life forms. Of course, everyone treated this statement as a joke. Putting aside how rare Source-type life forms were, just the harsh contract conditions of Source-type life forms would cause countless people to be stuck. However, the fact that Black possessed Source-type life forms was basically the final conclusion of this Class 4 scholar. If Lin Yuan were to continue fighting after reaching the 100th floor of the Star Tower, he would have to fight in the promotion duel. Lin Yuan was already a little tired, so he wasn't in a hurry to fight in the promotion duel. Instead, he opened up his identity card. Name, black gender, male height, 178 cm weight, 61 kg star tower floor, 100 spirit chi occupation, healing type professional occupation rank, C rank contracted Fey, Morbius, bronze X/legend, 1000 questions beast, bronze I/legend, Twilight Starbird, silver I/fantasy I, red thorn, bronze V/epic, acid corrosion queen bee, gold I/legend. Duel record: 100 duels, 100 wins, 0 losses, highest floor, 100. When Lin Yuan saw the 100 duels with a 100% win rate, he recalled how he had climbed from the first floor to the 100th floor of the Star Tower. Lin Yuan could deeply feel that he had obtained something called growth. From the first battle until now, Lin Yuan and his contracted Fey had become more compatible in combat. At the same time, he had a clearer understanding of his Fey's abilities. Lin Yuan had transformed from a combat newbie into a veteran with his own attitude and views on combat. Especially in the grasp of timing and the release of control abilities, Lin Yuan was considered to have become proficient through constant combat. But now, Lin Yuan understood that he still had a lot of growth to do. Lin Yuan knew that from the start of the Celestial Stairways promotion duels, the opponents he would encounter would definitely be much stronger than the opponents he had encountered previously. For example, the Star Tower's tower duels would basically have a small stage every 10 floors, and a large stage every 20 floors. As for the opponents he was matched with during the Celestial Stairways promotion duels, many of them had even fallen from the Celestial Stairway. Those unlucky Celestial 5-star experts might fall back to the promotion duels and have to start all over again. Therefore, Lin Yuan understood that it wouldn't be easy for him to win the next few ranking duels. His winning streak might also come to an end. Lin Yuan wasn't worried about this, as he had never thought that he could reach the Celestial Stairway with 100 consecutive victories. Lin Yuan felt that the Star Web duels were a process of constantly correcting his combat style and honing his combat skills. Therefore, a hearty duel was much more precious than abusing noobs. Lin Yuan actually didn't feel that he had encountered a duel that he could fight to his heart's content. Lin Yuan urgently needed such a duel that he could fight to his heart's content to squeeze out his and his contracted partner's combat potential in desperate situations. Only defeat could let Lin Yuan understand where his shortcomings came from. In fact, after fighting these 100 duels, Lin Yuan also realized that commanding phase was a weakness. In the Star Tower duels, there were 2 ways to win. One was to kill the Spirit Chi professional that was matched with him. The other was to kill all the Spirit Chi professionals' contracted phase. These 2 methods would be considered the end of the duel. Lin Yuan had also encountered danger previously. If Red Thorn hadn't blocked it for him, he would have been ambushed by the opponent's Fey and lost the duel. Of course, even if Red Thorn had blocked the attack for him, his left shoulder blade had still been completely shattered by the aftershock. Such an injury made Lin Yuan understand the importance of a combat-class Spirit Chi professional self-protection. This gave Lin Yuan an accurate target for the Fey he wanted to contract. Lin Yuan wanted to form a contract with a Fey that could protect him. However, Lin Yuan didn't have an affinity with defense-type Feys. Therefore, Lin Yuan could only choose to be like Xian and awaken an exclusive skill that was the possession characteristic. Otherwise, he could contract a source-type life form that could protect him well. Baiduan read the latest chapter of Beast Evolution Merchant Claw Book House for free. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.